In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, Tony Dunn, a.k.a. The Professor. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Tonight's show, Matt rules the dance floor at the NFL owners' meetings. Cody Lashley's going to be in the house in just a minute. We're going to hold down the fort until he gets here. CK in the house, welcome back to the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Hey, always happy to be here every Tuesday night, just trying to talk about the Panthers whenever I can, as often as I can. And, you know, obviously we're not dealing with a tremendous amount of news this week, so should be pretty light, but still good to be here with you boys.
Yeah, that is good. Thanks. Greg in the house, how you doing?
I'm doing better than last week, man. Sorry I had to miss it. I was feeling a little under the weather, finally starting to feel like myself again and get all this cleared up. But, you know, like CK said, man, this is the best place to be on Tuesday nights with y'all.
Yeah, I mean, is the COVID stuff passed, you guys? Like, did you have COVID?
No, I didn't have COVID.
Okay.
I just I got tested for COVID and the flu, and he told me that if he didn't call me back, that it wasn't COVID. So he never called me back. So
that's an easy way to be lazy, dude. Just
I
assume that you're not sick if you're not sick. So.
Yeah, I get it, but I mean, like I said, never called me back. So I was like, all right, cool.
No. I mean, it seems like we're finally out of the weeds at this. At least at my work and stuff, we don't have to wear the mask anymore. I went to the gas station the other day, and they had taken down that plexiglass thing that was hanging from the ceiling.
Like all the
well,
gas stations I'm at too. Yeah.
So that's good news. Well, we're glad you're feeling better. We do have a little bit of stuff to talk about owners' meetings, Matt Rhule, his continued coaching statements. And now Cody Lashley's here. What's up, my man?
What's up, boys? Another Tuesday night. Happy to be coming back to you. We got some news from the NFL owners' meeting. It was Scott Fitterer and Matt Rhule tipping their hand as to what they may or may not do during the draft. A ton of stuff to talk about. But as always, Tony, you know we're going to be doing it with the best Panther fans in all of YouTube. My man Drew, Andrew Park, ATX19, Blake Bettis, Black Jesus, Dan Floyd, Joey the Blind Panther Esquivel, Matt Knows Nothing, Nick and Off Grid, Panther Pickle, Tommy Doc Martin, Trill One, Tony Dunn, and not two, but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
All right. I guess maybe we should start with the owners' meetings today. They did. I guess the biggest news that came out of this was the changes to the overtime rules. So after watching that shootout between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, in one of the most exciting football games in the history of football, it felt like people really started to question that. You know, in the past, this is the second time they changed. It used to be sudden death, first person just score, period, I think, right? It's like you could kick a field goal for the win. And then they moved it because that was so anticlimactic in a way that they gave this idea is like each person's going to get the ball unless you score a touchdown on the open and possession. That's going to end it. And now they're, I think, giving both teams a chance to score. So it seemed like the league was heavily in favor of that. 3 teams voted against it. I'm kind of interested in why they voted against it more than anything. Did they just want to change the rules entirely to a college type system? I'm not really sure. And is it a college type? What does this mean now? Like, what is the overtime? Is that now just both teams get the ball?
Well, it means if you think back to Kansas City versus Buffalo, Kansas City went down, scored a touchdown on their first drive in overtime. And basically what it means is that Buffalo would have then gotten a chance to put up points and go and match the points that they put up. So I'm assuming it means you have to get a touchdown and an extra point on your drive in order to be successful. Matt Rhule did an interview. He also brought up the Panthers and the Vikings, how they beat us in overtime, and that if we hadn't gotten a possession, it would have changed some things for us. Although I do think this rule only affects the playoffs. It isn't a
Yes, that's
regular
right.
season
It's
game.
not
Yeah,
a
it's not regular
regular.
season game. So
Yeah.
this is only.
I wonder why.
And I'm not mad at this, man. I mean, if you remember what I feel like if you're the home team, automatically the away team shouldn't get the ball during overtime just because you're the whole team and you've had 4 quarters of football to put them away and you couldn't do it. But I think this is a happy compromise. And honestly, when you look at Josh Allen and what he did and him and Gabriel Davis, the performance that they put up in the AFC Championship game, you want to give them a reason to continue doing what they were doing. So I think it's a good move.
This is Matt Rhule. When asked about it, he said, "I'm for it. You see what we're paying quarterbacks right now to have an elite quarterback not have a chance to touch the ball to go win the game. We played Minnesota this year. We had an unbelievable comeback, scored 11 points in 4 minutes, and lost the game when they scored a touchdown in overtime and didn't get a chance to touch the ball. I know people are traditionalists, but I was in college football where both teams get a chance to touch the ball. I think as competitive as we can make it, looking at the stats the competition committee gave out, it's not going to be a ton more plays for the guys. So I'd be 100% in favor of it." So again, what stood out to me, Cody, about this comment is this continued fascination and discussion of elite quarterbacks. The hunt, the need, he is an addict looking for a score when it comes to a quarterback. And did you guys see the Deshaun Watson video that got leaked from the deposition? How does this get leaked, first of all?
Dude, you sharing it to our chat was my first time seeing it. I had not seen that before.
Yeah, agreed.
Just came out today, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why, whenever they ask Matt Rhule, he doesn't have a lot to say about Deshaun. I think that's one of the biggest reasons we haven't heard from David Tepper, is because David Tepper just does not have a good answer on why the Panthers pursued Deshaun so heavily and yet still failed to land him. And then it's like, you have to answer all the questions that the Browns had to answer about Deshaun, and you didn't even land him. It's like you're just justifying your interest in him. So I kind of think that's why we haven't heard from David Tepper. But
I think did you see the Deshaun Watson intro press conference?
I didn't get a chance to watch much of it.
Okay, I watched it for the Browns, and I got to tell you, I don't believe a word Watson says now. I think he's a total liar, bro. 100% lying. That dude came out. They asked him. They said, "How much did the new contract play into you choosing?" He said absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
I said this man is lying about everything, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the difference, Cody. I told you, if you really wanted to get this guy, that's like you're now courting him. You ain't courting the Texans anymore. That you've already made it through that. You got the date with the daughter. The dad agreed to it. Now you got to get the girl to want to go. Mm-hmm. And in this case, Deshaun Watson to come play. And don't give me that bull crap, Deshaun, I didn't care about the money at all until then. Come on.
Yeah, because he turned them down at first after their first offer, and then when they came back with a bigger offer, he went back to them. So that right there tells you that he's lying about it. It had to be about the money.
There's reason enough to believe that if the Panthers would have guaranteed the 3rd and 4th year of his contract, that he would have become a Carolina Panther.
Yeah,
So,
this was a money thing at the end of the day. What ruled the day, and we just didn't have the ability or the financial ability to pull it off, I guess. Or the willingness. In a good way, though, I got to say this is I'm glad it's over, right? And I want to clear the air on Deshaun Watson before we jump into the quarterbacks. Just for me,
sure,
is that I think we had to recognize that the Panthers were interested in Deshaun Watson, and their interest was there, despite or regardless of what we felt about the position, right? If we liked the idea, if we didn't like the idea. And I think the other thing is just to be candid, is that we know that not having a quarterback and having a quarterback, what that does for your team. So Deshaun Watson, the player, which they said Deshaun Watson, the person, in that press conference like a bazillion times. But we all knew that would make our team a significantly different team. So the excitement there of adding a player, but then there were the question at what cost? Not only the cost of the organizational cost, but the ethical costs that go involved into it. And I got to be honest, I'm glad it's over. And I'm just glad it's settled. And to be honest, I'm glad it didn't happen, because it's not over, and it's just continue to be a saga going on
for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I mean,
regardless.
It's like yeah, and so it's going to take a long time for that to be a non-issue entirely. Now, with that said, it allows us to know, since that's not an option anymore, the hunt is still on. The search is still on for that quarterback. You heard Matt Rhule talking about elite. I mean, they can't stop. They can't get quarterbacks out of their mouths. Right, their names out of their mouths, like Will Smith would say, and they are interested in these rookie quarterbacks. What I've heard, Cody, is that there are 3 quarterbacks they see as first-round talents, or at least that they are interested in: Willis, Pickett, and Corral. The Carolina Panthers have supposedly been open to trading back, some people have said. And I also saw this, is that the Detroit Lions have taken calls about trading to number 2. People interested in trading to number 2. Do you think that's smoke? And what do you make of the new kind of direction the Carolina Panthers are looking at quarterback?
Well, let me start by saying this. Scott Fitterer pretty much delivered a big nothing burger worth of a comment. So his exact words, this is from The Athletic. It says, this is on the only pick in the first 136 selections. He said, it really depends on who's there at 6. We'd love to trade back. We'd love to acquire some picks. But if you can't, and you can get a really good player, then just do that. It's hard to say right now. So basically, Scott Fitterer said literally every option imaginable to the Carolina Panthers is still on the table. Right now, they're trying to not tip their hand as to what their draft board looks like, as to what they want to do in the draft. And if you look at the draft media, it's pretty much split as to what the Panthers should do. Many people think now that someone like Evan Neal or Akim Ekwonu are going to be available with that 6th pick in the draft, and that you have to take that opportunity to upgrade your offensive line. But yes, Tony, you're right. This question around the quarterback continues to surface. And Matt Rhule would also go on to say that of the 3 different quarterbacks, Pickett, Corral, and Willis, that he believes one of them will be a top 10 pick. Now, he did not say which one. But we do know that the night of Kenny Pickett's pro day, Matt Rhule took him out to dinner. They had a long conversation with him. We do know that all 3 of the quarterbacks are set to meet with the Carolina Panthers at some point as a part of the Panthers' visits with their 30 prospects that they're allowed to meet with. So, I mean, this is why I was excited to do today's show and have this discussion with everyone, because there really isn't a bad opinion on what the Panthers should do going forward. Like, there is no good answer. Do you take a chance on one of these quarterbacks at 6, and none of them are what you would call complete projects? You would be gambling to draft any one of these quarterback prospects. However, if you don't, then you're either left with free agency, which your options are Jimmy Garoppolo and Baker Mayfield, or you are forced to go with Sam Darnold as your quarterback for 2022, which I maintain and have for a while David Tepper is not interested in doing. So my question to all of you guys, I mean, not just the quarterbacks, but what is the best move for the Panthers at this juncture?
I want to shout down this comment right here. Chris Cardwell, say no to Malik, Jamarcus Russell Willis. I think they have
That's
zero. I think there's zero comparisons between those two guys. Like, I mean, first of all, one, you got like an LSU talent who I think went deep in the postseason that year and got a lot of acclaim. I don't think he won the national. I can't remember if he won the national championship with LSU that year.
He didn't.
But they went deep, you know. But he was, and I hate to say this, he was just not bright.
Well,
He just wasn't a smart, and if anything, with Malik Willis is that the head on his shoulders might be his greatest asset that I've seen so far. Really good Wonderlic score. I mean, so it's not just he's charismatic. He's like
leader.
Yeah. So I just don't like that. Now go ahead, Greg. I know you were about to jump in and answer this. What should the Panthers do? There's no bad takes. Cody said you can draft these linemen, trade back and acquire picks, which I think is more difficult than people make it out to be. And how do you fix this going forward? What do we do?
I honestly think with the acquisitions we've already gotten free agency and everything with this line, if you have a basically no risk offensive lineman you guys feel are out there that we can get at 6, I would go with that and just run with Darnold one more year, to be truly honest with you. I'm kind of at that point because best case scenario, we have a better offensive line and Darnold actually does play better. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could. You never know. Worst, I mean, and then actually it's still not a bad scenario if we are in the top 10 next year with a better offensive line to draft a better quarterback. I'm saying go offensive line right here. Not that I have anything against these quarterbacks. I just haven't been blown away, and I've heard so many things from so many different people about these quarterbacks. So I don't know. It's not, there's nobody that's like everybody's confident about, like Trevor Lawrence last year, even though Trevor Lawrence was a different situation. There's nobody out there like that, so I'd rather get offensive line at the moment.
Do we think that David Tepper would be willing to let Sam Darnold quarterback this team for 2022, or is he just in the position where him and Matt Rhule have no choice but to sleep in the bed they made?
I think that's what it is, because you got to pay him, right? I mean, I just don't see him putting that much more. The only way to fix this is to be patient right here, right now. Get Darnold out of there, build this offensive line, and work. I saw an article earlier. It was a CBS draft pick, and the title in the article was "Panthers Panic at number 6 and draft quarterback." And I thought about that, and that kind of might be true.
I have mixed opinions on this, Cody. One, I say scared money don't make no money. And so if you're scared to draft a quarterback all the time, you're never going to get a quarterback. Right? I mean,
that's what Scott Fitterer is saying. That's what Fitterer is basically saying now.
But is there but there's a difference between being scared and you just not seeing a guy out there. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Reaching, right? But here's the thing is I think that I don't really get the conversation of like these guys are such a inferior class of quarterbacks. I'm going to tell you this, even in the top class of quarterbacks, even last year, I don't think many of them were pro ready, period. You know, or like are going to go and win you a lot of games on their own in their rookie year. What quarterback, even Peyton Manning stepped in and threw a bazillion interceptions his first season. So if the answer to stay away from a guy is because of where they are going to be on day one, versus who you have on the roster day one, or so for instance, people say Pickett is better day one than Willis. Well, I really don't care about day one. I actually care about year 3 or week 6 or week 8 or week 28 the next year. Is so like, I mean, and I'm actually warmed to the idea of picking any of them. Like, I really don't even care if you're going to pick, how about this would it be reaching for the Carolina Panthers to draft Kenny Pickett in the 2nd round? And you would say, no. Oh man, he's dropped. Like, we can go check. Well, then you know what? Then you should just draft him at 6 too. Yeah. If you're willing to give him and build theoretically around him in the future, then you might as well go ahead and start the process. Yeah. So I think that being scared, and that's what Scott Fitterer said, is like, just because you swung and missed doesn't mean you don't keep swinging. Now, if I want them to pick the player that they truly believe could give them an opportunity to build a franchise around in the future. I don't care which one it is. You can say it's Willis. You can say it's Pickett. You can say it's Corral. You can say it's next year in a guy. I just want them to pick this person to have the confidence in their own selection rather than just continue to bring the idea that we just throw shit up against the wall until something sticks. Like this blind swinging, I'm not interested in. I'm interested in a really targeted selection. And my final point on this matter is something I think I've been pretty consistent with. Is like picking a quarterback right now, since we missed out on the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. Like, I mean, unless you somehow land like a trade for Kyler Murray. I mean, look, you bring in a Jimmy G, you bring in a Gardner Minshew, you bring in you name any of these mid-level or below mid-level type quarterbacks, honestly, and it's not going to move the needle any different significantly that saves anybody's, that salvages the reputation of Matt Rhule, that salvages fan hopes. And I think the only thing that can save Matt Rhule's job is hope. And that is hope in the future. I think they missed this opportunity. They told us how they wanted to build in the past, and they had a really good plan. They didn't execute it. They went against their own plan. We missed the opportunity to get a quarterback last year. I feel like they're reeling. And I just think this is that if they draft an offensive tackle, that means this is that we're thinking we have a lot more work to do than we expected. And that this is a 2023 new coach quarterback move. If we draft a quarterback here, I think there's an outside chance somehow Matt Rhule could save his job.
Yeah, and I feel that the Panthers, they have someone that they prefer of those three. And I think, Matt Rhule kind of tipped his hand a little bit. Matt Rhule said one of them we believe will be a top 10 pick. Well, they are picking in the top 10. So that kind of says to me that right now, if they were going to pick a quarterback, there's only one that they truly think is worthy of picking at number 6. At least that's how I read the situation. That's how I read the matter. I do agree with you, Tony. If you like him at 6, you should just draft him. I think the Panthers are deeply regretting not having their second and third round picks this year. And I think that's really hurting them at this point in time. They wanted to be able to use their draft picks to continue to build the defense and the offensive line and the defensive line, I really feel like. But they are so desperate for that quarterback position. I mean, I agree, Tony. If you're talking about hope and what could possibly help survive Matt Rhule's NFL career, you have to put it on a young quarterback that gives you the hope to do something on offense going forward. Because unless Sam Darnold is able to take some drastic step forward, there is not going to be a lot of Panther fan enthusiasm about Sam Darnold being the starting quarterback next year. I mean, for as good as our team is, for as good as the free agency signings have been, is there one person either on this podcast or in this chat that would actually be excited about the Carolina Panthers going forward if Sam Darnold was your quarterback? Like, no.
I think excitement's the wrong word to use, though. But I'm kind of with Greg on this. Is like, I do see that you screwed up on the Sam Darnold trade. You signed the option, and you're kind of just where you are. So if you just draft the tackle and you don't like one of these quarterbacks, you're really playing for 2023 anyway. The problem I have with Sam Darnold is I think he's become a scapegoat for this team to a certain degree. I think that the inadequacies of the team on the offensive line, the coaching staff, and just the overall plan of development of the team were just as big as problems as Sam Darnold's play last year. And that just kind of was a result of all of those bad decisions rather than the cause of all our problems. I do think that Sam Darnold could probably be better in year 2 behind a better offensive line, but how much better, I don't know. I don't think that this coaching staff or this organization really cares to find out either.
All right.
my final point on that is I would be fine. Look, is that I'd like, I just don't think moving. I think the problem with Sam Darnold, it turns out not to be Sam Darnold, is why do we have to pay so much to get Sam Darnold?
Right.
If why is it that you can go and get a Gardner Minshew supposedly for a fourth, but we had to give up a second and a third for a failed quarterback on a team that they knew was drafting a quarterback?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I just don't understand. Like, why do we have to give so much for Sam Darnold? And I think that's what stings here is if Sam Darnold would have sucked and we still would have had our second and third round pick and we were picking at 6, we really wouldn't have that much problem. We'd probably be like, you know what? Let's take a quarterback somewhere in this draft. Let Sam Darnold, play for a few weeks, see where things are and stack this team and get better for the future. But the problem is we gave so much up for Sam Darnold that it's like he ruins more than just the 2021 season.
Yeah. Well, and, they're screaming in the chat room, and it's just like what you're saying here, Tony. There's no reason to believe that Sam Darnold with a healthy Christian McCaffrey and a better offensive line shouldn't get a chance to try again. Especially for paying this guy.
I agree. I think that there's to Tony's point. I think he would be a better quarterback if those things were to happen. But I also, again, I'm of the same mind of the ownership. I'm not necessarily of the mind to give him a shot on that.
You're paying him.
The thing that I would say is and to Cody's point earlier, his question was, what do we do in the draft? Is there anything we can do wrong? I think if we hadn't fucked up the past 2 years as badly as we did, then it would be easy what was going on in this draft. The problem is because of the uncertainty of our quarterback and our left tackle position, it makes it infinitely more difficult to figure out what this team is going to be doing. I don't know that there's a wrong decision if you go left tackle or QB. I don't think we're going to know that answer until the end of next year.
Yeah, there is no wrong answer. If you draft that left tackle or any offensive lineman, there's a certain degree, there's an uncertainty that surrounds their future. It doesn't mean they're guaranteed to be good, but you know what? It would be an understandable move to build around in the future. You know what I'm saying? Just like last year, for people who did not want to take a quarterback while we were sitting there, take Slater. Take Slater. You know what I'm saying? It's like, is that it wasn't it's not an unreasonable pick to pick a tackle. I think it's one thing to pick a tackle because you want to pick them and you think it's the right move. I think it's another thing to pick an offensive lineman because you're scared of failing at picking a quarterback. Right. And that's for me is like, if you would pick this guy at 20, if you would pick Malik Willis at 20, if we were sitting at 20 and Malik Willis falls to us where the Pittsburgh Steelers are exactly at, would you say, oh man, I don't know if we should do this? And if you say that, then you shouldn't pick him at all. Like, I mean, then it's a Will Grier pick. If you wouldn't pick him at 20, then it might as well be a Will Grier pick. So if you would pick him at 20, then you would pick him at 6, I think. And at the time, and this is where, like, you just need the quarterback, dude. And to be honest, it's harder to find a quarterback than it is to find offensive linemen, I think.
The only thing about the statement of you would pick him at 20, then you would pick him at 6 is you have to add in there if all the other players were available. Like, there's a difference. When you're picking him at 20, all the other players that you may have picked before him are going to be gone. So it is a little bit different. So pick him at 20, pick him at 6. If the players that you may have drafted before him are gone, then that statement works. But
what if they go in? But what if? Imagine this: what if the Panthers pick this? Who's that? Notre Dame safety.
Kyle Hamilton, who has seen his stock kind of drop over the past few weeks.
Why do you think that is?
Well, he ran slower than expected at the combine. He ran like a high 4.4, but kind of in the 4.5s. So they didn't run as fast. And apparently during his pro day, he ran again and ran a 4.7, which is weird because, now it's a weird case of like, man, how fast is he? Then, of course, you look at his play tape, and his play tape is really, really good. I'm not as enamored with Kyle Hamilton as a lot of draft pundits are, but
a month
he
ago
is
they
a
said
really
this
good
guy was the
football
best player in the draft. A month
Yeah.
ago they said he was the best BPA. So my point is this is
But you
and
see
to
how this stuff
respond to,
changes?
yeah, crazy. With what you're saying, Greg, is imagine if we just picked straight B and we just said, you know what, we're picking a safety here at 6.
Right.
Mhm.
And you go, well, he's just the best player on the board. And I would say, how do you even inch between, like, what makes Sewell and Slater the best player on the board?
Right.
Right? It's like part opinion, part speculation,
Mhm.
part, there is no real answer to that. And so that's just what I mean is like, who's going to change your team dynamic more?
Right.
And this goes back to my tight end thing. Is I don't care how good this tight end is. It's just he's not going to be the answer. Imagine picking a tight end in the top 10 here, and we don't got a quarterback. And you say, oh, well, he's the best tight end prospect we've ever seen in our life. And you're like, well, why didn't you just pick that left tackle guy? I don't know. I just feel like, what does our team need? And our team massively needs offensive line or quarterback. Like, it almost seems like every other position is irrelevant until those positions are fixed.
But can I just pose this to everyone? Imagine for a minute, everyone calls Malik Willis the upside quarterback in this year's draft. Well, imagine if he is another Justin Herbert. Imagine if he is another Josh Allen. Two quarterbacks that were heavily criticized for so many different things: lack of touch, lack of accuracy downfield, lack of ability to read the field. I mean, all I'll say is this, man. Patrick Mahomes as well. When you look at all the traits,
Lamar Jackson,
those guys. There's a bunch of different comparisons that you can make. But what I'm here to tell you is this: if you look at all the traits that you bet on in a player being able to acquire new things once they enter the NFL, you look at mental and emotional intelligence. This is one thing that Justin Herbert and Josh Allen had in common. They were very intelligent, had a very high Wonderlic score, and they were able to pick up the intricacies of an NFL playbook. Well, I'm here to tell you that Malik Willis is the very same kind of quarterback. Highly intelligent, an incredible arm talent, physical. He runs like a running back, incredibly powerful. I'm not here to tell you that he's going to have a Justin Herbert jump in season 1, just because I don't know if he's going to be able to make that jump. What I do know is that he is highly intelligent with all the physical attributes that you want to see in a franchise quarterback. And he gives me the reasons to believe that he's going to be able to pick up an NFL playbook and be a good leader. So I would bet on Malik Willis at this point. And to be honest, I know this is something that Tony doesn't want to hear, but I say bring back Cam Newton for another year if he's willing to sign here, and let Malik Willis sit for a year under Cam. And whatever, you're going to be paying Sam Darnold $18 million.
Why don't you just let him sit under Sam Darnold?
He's not going to learn anything from Sam Darnold. And I do believe,
but like, I mean, you know what is
mentorship.
that's bull crap, is that you really don't learn from that. Man, you're spending that time with the quarterback's coach. That's what you got a quarterback's coach for.
Mhm.
Right? Is that like he really is? I don't think that all of a sudden he
Willis some things.
I think he
I
could.
think he couldn't.
Yeah,
but I just don't know if it would be necessarily worth the money acquisition. And again, I don't want to see Cam Newton benched in shame because Matt Rhule is worried about his damn job or whatever it is. So I don't want to do that to him. I also think this is I like the upside argument of Willis. Like, I'm kind of on the Willis train because of that upside. I've kind of fallen in love with the kid himself. Like I don't want to call him a kid, the man. Like, I love watching him talk. I think he's great with the mic in his hand. Like, that's where I like more than anything. But I'm trying not to be shook by some of the problems that people tell us about Pickett either. Is they said that he was the best deep ball passer in college last year. I saw somebody put up a tweet that said if we would have taken the draft profile of Joe Burrow and just removed LSU from it, and because of that team he was on part of, that the descriptions between him and Pickett would be very similar.
They are. I think that's a very fair comparison to make between two players.
So I'm not even afraid of Pickett. I'm not even afraid of this Matt Corral, the kid that he beat up Wayne Gretzky's kid.
But he also has a Corral spent most of the college football season as the number one quarterback on most websites, draft boards, and he does have a bazooka for an arm. I mean, Matt Corral, he was in the same class as Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields coming out of high school, and he's always been known for his arm talent.
The fear I have with Willis, all right, is that if you believe in like the types of things that you're betting on, these traits and the upside, you have to believe that for more than just 1 year. You can't get them out there and it just doesn't happen immediately and you quit on it. And that's the one requirement I have for us picking a quarterback, is we haven't had any confidence in any of the quarterback selections we've made in the last 5 years, right? It's just like you go out there, it didn't work, next, moving on.
Yeah.
We don't need a Josh Rosen situation either. So if you're like, if you don't really commit to it and say this is a 3-year kind of timeline where we're not going to figure out if Willis, Pickett, or any of these guys are the real answer until really 2024, 25, we'll have enough data to make a final decision, then you shouldn't do it at all then. Like, I don't even want this, like what's going on with the Dolphins with Tua, like where it's just like, gosh, they don't even believe in, they're not giving it a chance themselves. And I need the Panthers, if we draft any of these dudes, I just don't want it to be half-assed. And that's why I don't like taking quarterbacks in the 3rd and the 4th and thinking that they're going to be good in the future. I don't think you really believe in them. Maybe there's an occasional story where that's worked out, but you didn't build your organization around it either.
Right.
The Patriots didn't build their organization around Tom Brady. Right? I mean, it just kind of happened to work. And then they did.
Dude, I don't think you're ever going to see another scenario where a 6th-round pick ends up being, an all-time great like that. But
except for Gardner Minshew.
And no, maybe in your head, but in the head of no one else. But or even like a Dak Prescott went in the 4th round. But again, Dak Prescott, that's actually a good, a good comparison too. Part of the reason why Dak Prescott fell so much was because of the system that he was in. And they didn't think that kind of quarterback and that kind of offense would be able to translate to the NFL.
Right.
I'm telling you, man, while I cannot guarantee that Malik Willis is going to have a Justin Herbert-like jump where he's just all of a sudden making these throws that no one thought that he was capable of, what I am here to tell you is that it damn sure won't surprise me. You have an incredibly intelligent young man who's incredibly likable, a very good leader, someone that I think our entire team would gladly coalesce around. I mean, imagine DJ Moore with a quarterback like Malik Willis firing on all cylinders. Another thing to mention about Malik Willis, since we're on the topic of him, is that you're also going to be able to go back to RPO and using your quarterback in the run game, specifically in the red zone, where the Panthers have had one of the best red zone weapon quarterbacks to ever live in the NFL.
Is he really that dominant of a dual threat quarterback? I actually think in some ways the lower competition argument makes that one more I just feel like, man, maybe you're just the best athlete on that field.
Well, look, he was certainly the best athlete on the field. What I can say is this: when you look at the young man from a physical perspective, the dude is built well, man. He has calves that are just ridiculous. He has incredible post-contact balance. I mean, there's a reason why people are comparing his physical frame to that of a running back. I mean, that really is how he's built. He's built low to the ground.
Yeah.
Very, very compact. Listen, I mean, as a runner, he does have the ability to run past you, run through you, run over you. Part of the criticism about Malik at Liberty was that when the play broke down, when he was rolling out to the left or the right, that he kind of took his eyes off of downfield and he was looking to run. Yeah, and he was looking to run more than throw. That, I think, is a byproduct of him being the best offensive weapon that they had on the football field. You don't really rely on the receivers to create that separation reliably enough. So you're like, well, fuck it, man. If my number one's not open, I know I have a damn good chance of me taking off for a 60-yard touchdown. By the way, he did so many times. So
yeah,
it's
you know what is, to be honest, is there's a lot of differences too between him and he's had a lot more experience playing football and quarterback than a Trey Lance did, than a Carson Wentz did. Then I feel like he started a lot of, I mean, he's been a 4-year starter there, 3-year starter in Liberty, like when he left Auburn. And then people say, well, he couldn't crack the starting thing in Auburn. Well, I mean, like you could say that about Joe Burrow.
Justin Fields wasn't named the starter at Georgia, and he went on to Ohio State and was incredible. Right.
So I don't think that those are, but I think
it's not good arguments.
Again, the one concern I have with picking, I don't even want to call him a project quarterback yet. Like, I mean, it's just like, yeah, I mean, I don't think that's fair. Like, it's almost kind of like you just want to say, people just want to say those things. Number one is like every quarterback is a project quarterback. If you think that they're going to be pro ready from day one, that's kind of that is like a haughty, arrogant kind of perspective. Is you want these guys to be better in year 5 than they were in day 1. Duh. I just think, I don't know. I don't got a problem with either of them. I don't even got a problem with Pickett, to be honest. I just don't know enough about Matt Corral, but you know what? Fine. I mean, he was coming off of an injury, so I think that hurt. Like he got injured in his his bowl game or something like that.
His bowl game, he had an ankle injury, but apparently he's all good now. Didn't show any signs of pain or whatever.
My final thing that I just want to say on the quarterback is just, if you pick it, believe in it. And if you don't believe in it, then don't select them. And what I mean is don't pick it. But I mean, we just can't. It would just suck to draft a quarterback, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, whatever, and then Matt Rhule lose his job, and you bring in a new head coach, and they want to do something completely different.
Yeah.
So I hope that we have that when we make whatever decision we make at 6, we're confident enough in that decision to believe that it's going to be at least a long-term project opportunity to improve our team. Let's go on to the next topic. I guess, is the owners' meetings occurred this week. We mentioned that. And Matt Rhule, I tell you, yesterday, my entire day was taken up, was not taken up. I mean, I worked and did other things, but this Will Smith, Chris Rock thing just fascinated me all day long. Just took my attention.
Captivated the world.
Yeah, I mean, it is like this happened in front of the whole world. Everybody's talking about it, and somehow Matt Rhule still can't fly under the radar and not get roasted. Out of all that, man, all yesterday, my timeline on Twitter was just blown up by making fun of people making fun of Matt Rhule. I have various opinions on this. I get some of the poking fun at the close and some of the things. I also understand that, like, it looks like my man is, the NFL is starting to take a toll on him, as Pat McAfee said. But I tried to avoid getting too much into it because I also felt like there was a degree of fat shaming involved.
Did you see my thumbnail?
No,
Did you
I
see my
didn't.
You didn't see the thumbnail?
No, not yet. I haven't.
You should. It's I liked it, but I hear what you're saying.
People were making fun of his wrinkly pants. He didn't bring his wife to the meeting. There was no. He's not an iron guy. He's a throw your pants in the dryer type guy, which I've become in my lazy years. But people made a lot of fun of this. It turns out he's a good dancer too.
It didn't seem like those two stories would go together. You
Right.
look at Matt Rhule. You look at Matt Rhule in this photo, and you don't necessarily bet on him to be the guy to be cutting the rug on the dance floor. And also, he's not necessarily the coach that has the justification to be dancing on a dance floor at an owners meeting. And it's like,
What do you mean?
man-
Of course he does. If you can cut a
This
rug
man
whenever the
hasn't
music
made
goes
the-
on, you get out there and you
Do
do it.
nah, dude, this man hasn't made the playoffs. Your dumbass better not be dancing on no
Oh,
dance
stop
floor.
that. That's
And
like
you
saying Mac
can't win a
Jones can't go
playoff
to the
game?
Super Bowl.
Oh, dude, this guy better stop that bullshit dancing, man. You better be dancing in the end zone when your team scores some touchdowns. As of right now, you have not garnered the ability or the wherewithal to be out here dancing, man.
But that's like
Come on.
people complaining about Cam Newton's outfits because they lost the game. Like
Yeah.
I don't think you can put like you can't correlate his actions outside of coaching as it is something that justifies him not wearing something. Like
Cam won an MVP. I don't care what he's wearing. It's the dancing. Dude, what are you dancing about, man? You
Oh,
don't win
stop.
anything.
I disagree. I
Stop
disagree.
dancing. I don't
Did
even
you-
want to
Like
think
saying-
about him.
It's like saying like I don't just because oh my I think that is exactly the same argument as Cam Newton's outfits. Like you didn't win, like you
Cam
just came out
Newton
here and
won
lost
an
Cody's being a
35
Scrooge
to
about
0.
dancing.
Yeah,
No,
and
Cam Newton won an MVP. And no, I'm not. Greg.
Oh,
I want
gosh. Wait a
my-
minute. Is you
I
saying
want
my man
coach
can't
to be a
dance?
winner. I want
Huh?
my coach to be a winner before he
Well, he
dances.
won the dance competition, dude.
So
No,
so
man.
so are you saying, Cody? Are you saying because he is a loser, which he is, and so in football so far, professional football, he's not allowed to dance at all because he's a
That's
loser?
right, Greg. Life is a
So
cold,
unreasonable.
life is a cold
What else can we take?
bitch
You can't eat.
sometimes.
What else can we take? away
You
from him?
can't. Well, but boy, bro, he's been eating. He
You're
has
not allowed
been
to skip
eating.
anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
homeboy has been eating. No doubt, man.
And I don't want to fat shame him again. Look, is when you are working that hard and under that much pressure, which he is, I don't know how hard he's worked. You know what I mean? But like,
Right.
there's a lot of pressure in that, and your diet usually you take faster options. You really like have to. So messed up. See, this is fat shaming. That's what this is. This is fat shaming. It's not fair. As someone who was pretty heavy myself just a year ago, life can sometimes push you towards making decisions where you just don't allocate time for your own personal health. So it does seem like Matt Rhule has kind of been a victim of that. I want to know why is everyone's dressed so casual? I mean, at least I could see Sean McVay's kind of got his look going on, but everybody is like, I mean, this is a casual Rhule. This is short order cook.
Right.
Matt Rhule. I'm a little surprised. I mean, he doesn't even have his coach gear on, which I guess I never saw him not wear anything but coach gear. But this is a little basic. I'm not going to lie, a little basic. I mean, I don't even go to work. I mean, I guess, well, I don't know. I don't really care about his dress. Cody, what I do care about, and more problematic than this picture, I do think this was fat shaming, so I didn't really take a lot of part in it. I did not take part in it either, though. Like, I laughed and I retweeted some things and some different stuff.
Dude, Andy Reid is one of the best coaches in the NFL, and that man has a pot belly as far as the eye can see. No one gives a damn about Matt Rhule being fat. They want him to be competent. I think he could be as big as he wanted to be if he was doing things that actually inspired us to believe that the team was in good hands. To this point, we have not seen that.
The wrinkles, dude. The wrinkles are problematic. This is. It kind of reminds me of when when I was 20 or 25. I would. My wife, and women are a lot more polished generally in their presentation. Right. My wife spends time. She's been preparing herself every day for 30. They spend a lot of time. They're very put together, and I feel like she would be like, "You're really gonna wear those wrinkled pants?" I'm like, "Oh, they ain't that bad." And then you look in the mirror and they're like, "Oh,
yeah." And they're so
wrinkled. It is wrinkled. You need to. So I just man, it's a little sloppy. I ain't gonna lie about that. It just seems a little college-ish. But I want to play that. Will you play that clip that you sent that from Matt Rhule? More importantly to me is Matt Rhule's message bankrupt? His coaching, he's famous. The salesman always puts it up, and I love it. He always puts up this tweet from Matt Rhule at the Senior Bowl last year, and he says, "The harder you get coached, the harder we got to coach." And it's like, I don't know what that means, coach. This is Matt Rhule. He is doing a speaking tour. See, this is the Matt Rhule dress I know right here. Just total, it's 100%. He probably has every dollar from his contract. He didn't spend $1 on clothes. He just gets free shit from the team store. That's all he gets. He only wears team stuff. And it's like this. Oh, wait, I'm fired. I guess I got a whole closet full of Baylor crap to wear. Play this. This message right here. Matt Rhule's visiting with this Florida football team.
Say this. What you guys just did was really, really hard. That's a hard practice. Okay, that was long. You guys competed, and you guys finished with energy. And yeah, that's hard to do. That's like the building block of having a good team. This is a locked-in team, and I kind of like this team right here. But the thing that I'll say to you guys is everybody thinks talent wins championships. Yeah, we all know you need talent, right? We all get it. But guys, you, me, every coach, every trainer, we're all trying to do two things in our lives. We're trying to be successful personally, and we're trying to win a championship as a team. Most teams lose because they don't know why they lost. See, I want to coach players, guys, that love football and love practice and pay attention the whole time to practice. I want to coach players that love to run to the football. I want to coach players that love to take notes. And that's how you become different. That's how you become great. That's how you win.
Dude, it all just seems like typical coach speak mumbo jumbo. I mean, I don't even know if it's
typical coach speak. I'm to the point where it's like, I really like this team. Like, how do you know? You've been there 18 minutes, bro. You've been there 18 fucking minutes.
You know what that told me when he did that? Is he saying, I really like this team, please hire me. Because I'm about to be fired. Like, that's what I heard when he said that. I really like this team. Owner or whoever decides to hire me.
I mean,
director, player, personnel.
You might be looking for a coach in a minute.
He sounded like, I really like this hot dog. Put a little ketchup on it, some mustard, and after that, have an ice cream sandwich.
But that's not win championship. It's not just a hot dog.
Right.
It's the people who put sauerkraut on their hot dogs. They win championships.
I've never seen a head coach say so much without saying anything. At all.
He said this. He said, you got to work hard. He said, you got to. This is what he said. I want to coach people that work hard, love football, and take notes.
He said most teams lose because they don't know why they lost. He said most teams lose and they don't know why they lost, and then didn't even finish the thought.
I think that Matt Rhule.
Joke.
I sadly think that Matt Rhule's bought into his own hype too much. Because he's like, I want to coach people. It's about him. It's like he's making them so much better. And he did this. This is with that Senior Bowl moment. It was like, the harder you get coached, the harder we got to coach. So get coached so we can coach as hard as we want to coach. I think that Kevin James would play a better Matt Rhule than Sean Payton.
Yes, that's a good point. That would be a really good role for Kevin James.
I just think this is CK and I were talking about this pre-show.
Yep.
CK brought up a good point. Is that message? It's good for a kid coming from high school to college. Work hard, team, process, take your notes, go to the meeting, learning how to be what does that speech do for someone who's been doing that for 8 years?
Right.
Nothing.
You're already there.
Like that was my point is when you have these college kids hear that, they haven't heard a coach talk like that, right? Like that he's saying a lot of the same stuff that and this is why I don't think he's an effective head coach in the NFL, is he's saying a lot of the same things that all of these kids have heard their entire lives. In college, they haven't heard it enough to be over, oh, this is just another one of those guys. But in the pros, if he's doing his speeches or whatever you want to call it, like that, these guys don't want to hear that type of talk. These guys want you to be a motivator. Want you to be a leader, not somebody who's just trying to get them to be a better type of. The guys that got to the NFL got there by doing that already. Like they are that type of player. You don't need to be playing those types of games with them saying if you show up and here all this time, there's some motivation that comes into play with that. But I think that Matt Rhule has been a way more effective college coach because college kids haven't heard it nearly as much as NFL players have.
Yeah, I'm just not. We didn't perform very well in the third quarter last year. And I just continued to say, man, I feel like Ron Rivera's halftime message has to resonate so much more than Matt Rhule's. Remember in that All or Nothing when he's like, they punch you in the mouth. We're going to fucking punch him back. And it's like, and you're like, hell yeah. And they were ready to go. And then they didn't.
Yeah,
but
we
still,
didn't. The only thing that sucks is you get that riled up and then just
if you want to let us coach you harder in the second quarter, we can get you better coach for the third quarter.
As a Panthers fan, it's very defeating to listen to this man talk because it feels like as a fan, as Panther content creators, people who follow the team, religiously, follow all the updates. It's no matter what the Panthers decide to do this offseason, and as I said earlier, no matter what your opinion is, it's just as relevant as anyone else's. Who knows what direction the Panthers are going to decide to go in? There seems to be a bunch of legitimate answers that could all equally play out in front of us. However, one commonality that they all share is that Matt Rhule is going to be the head coach of the Carolina Panthers in 2022. So you feel like we're kind of capped no matter what we do because we only have a coach that's competent enough to only take us so far. So, this is going to be lingering over the head of Panther fans until it comes to a conclusion at some point this year. Matt Rhule will not be justified a fourth year if this next year does not go as planned, or he's going to turn this whole thing around and prove all of us to be haters and wrong, and he's going to coach this team to be a legitimate playoff team. Mm-hmm. And anything short of that has made this entire Matt Rhule era an abject failure.
Well, don't you think that kind of plays into what they're drafting right now? Because if you're not planning on Matt Rhule being the coach next year, I would rather draft a coach or draft a quarterback in the same year I get a new head coach.
I agree with that. And I think that we learn what the future of Matt Rhule's future from the draft.
Right.
If they draft a tackle, I think, man, it's pretty much this ain't going to work.
Yeah, we're
I think if they draft a quarterback, they're saying it may work. Outside shot, but may work. Rhule is, we maybe missed the boat a little bit when we evaluated Matt Rhule in the beginning. by one of the things is we said a lot was just because college coaches hadn't had a lot of success in the NFL doesn't mean they can't have success. Maybe we weren't suspicious enough of the challenges.
I don't think.
The college to NFL.
Well, I think we should give Bad Daddy his credit on that. I mean, he was saying that exact same thing you're saying, which is like he was pretty suspicious about that.
Sure.
But I like what. Here's the reality as a Panthers fan, right? What is the alternative? Like when you have that happen, you can be the guy who's like, well, this is not going to work, or maybe this could. Like, let's look at the times when it has been a success and it's worked that way. Right. And that's why anytime they do something that is outside of the norm, it's going to scare us from now on, because like every avenue is like, well, hey, we did the same thing with Matt Rhule, and then we did the same thing with Sam Darnold. And then we're like, well, maybe, now that he'll be under a new system, he won't be under Adam Gase. He'll have this X, Y, or Z, a told together, less than extraordinary offensive line. Maybe he can come in here and actually rejuvenate his career. Well, we had the exact same. I mean, we could have had a lot of people did have the same reservations. Don't get me wrong, but I think a good portion of Panthers fans wanted to believe that maybe Sam Darnold could be the guy that he was drafted to be. And I think it's fine
to be a glass half full guy until you realize it's not half full.
Right.
I mean, you're right. It's like you do need to be I won't say be optimistic, but first, what other choice do you have? And it hasn't happened yet. Now you can say that Darnold stinks. Okay, I'm all right with you saying that. We were unsure. There was a potential. And look, again, I love when we make fun of fans for this, but like the team did this, not us. They did this, not us. So whatever decisions they make, we are kind of stuck listening to them and dealing with them and supporting them or criticizing them. Mm-hmm. I'm over this Matt Rhule thing. I have been over it. I know. And I don't want to be so critical that like he can't do anything right. Like the dress, the dance. Like, I mean, I don't want to be so prisoner of last year's decisions being the only thing that is Matt Rhule. Right. But they were so disruptive. Last season turned out to be such a disruptive setback that I just don't know how many more setbacks I can handle. And I don't know what faith someone like Mel Mayock, Aaron, Panthers draft, like he's like, I want him to be around for a long time. And I'm like, I guess like I also want there to be no poverty in the world, but that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, but hey, also definitely don't be dancing. Don't be dancing. Make like me and sit your ass down.
He needs to be dancing, man. It's good for his health.
No, he doesn't.
Dude, do you see how heavy he's getting? He needs to be dancing. Let that
get
man
on a treadmill. Get on a treadmill.
There's dancing. No difference. No difference. Yes, go to a Zumba class, buddy.
Dance when you win. Dance when you win. That's all I ask. Okay, I'm okay with dancing.
I'd be more worried if we saw him dancing in the locker room after a loss. Like, then I would understand your. Like, I think that's.
I hope I see him dance. That's what it is going to be. Win to dance.
Isn't that a song? I hope you dance or something.
All right. What else we got? Anything else to talk about before we get to cat calls?
Let's jump into it. I can look at some of the stuff.
Yeah. Did we talk about Christian McCaffrey's restructure last week?
Yeah, we did.
I don't know if that happened last week.
Yeah, it did. It was towards the end of the night, but we talked about it.
All right, hold on. I got to pull them up. Give me some space while I pull these calls up real quick. Fill in.
So, we can mention this on the note of Christian McCaffrey. Matt Rhule said that they would be open to moving him around, but ultimately they feel that he's best served as a running back, and that's where he's the most dangerous and where you're going to get the most value out of Christian McCaffrey. I do agree with Matt Rhule from that perspective. While I do think it would be good to motion him out more often and make him even more relevant in our passing game, I kind of think that as a running back, you have so many more options with him behind the line of scrimmage. I kind of just think that you need to just hope that he stays healthy and hope that you have a good, serviceable backup in Deontay Foreman ready to go behind him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Like, I don't like the touches argument with McCaffrey. Is like, man, these guys ain't gonna last in the NFL. Who knows how long they're gonna last in the NFL? Just use them. I'm more concerned actually with. Have you seen that picture of Christian McCaffrey that's floating around?
No.
Oh my God, this dude is. You thought he was ripped last year. He's like even more cock D's now, and I'm like, God, this guy is either on the juice. He's about to explode. His muscles are about to explode. And it's awesome. Like his body is getting great, and you can finally see his face is starting to get older. So he's kind of like looking like an old man face on this like like a Adonis body. It's pretty wild. All right, the number's 252-228-5098. Let's hear your opinions on Matt Rhule. Should he dance or not? Is my question to you guys.
So, what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So, how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey boys, Baby Rhino, giving you guys a call back. I wanted to clarify what I meant with Darnold being the starter for next year. It's not that I think he is. It's not what I think. It's what I think the coaching staff could possibly do. I'm not saying he has gotten any accolades for doing anything. He hasn't done anything right. It just makes me concerned. I know we need a quarterback. We should have jumped on that last year. And I hope we do something this year. But just you guys, I wanted to clarify that. It seemed like I was saying that he was a competent starter, and I'm not by all means. I'm liking the shape and direction that they've done in the free agency. And I know you guys will probably start diving in on your drafts and all that stuff, but I'm just curious of where we're going to go and what we're going to do. Keep pounding. Thank you.
Keep pounding.
Look,
it's
like with not having a quarterback, until we have a quarterback, we're going to need a quarterback. Like it's going to be the end of the day. You take a tackle this year, we're just going to be in the same position next year in the draft. And that's really what happened last year is like, hey, it's just until we get a quarterback, we don't have a quarterback. And I'm with you, man. I'm all right with us drafting a quarterback and starting Sam Darnold until we realize that he's not like the other guy gives us a better shot, or at least it's better to develop him in game. I'm all right with us drafting tackle and sort of tanking to a certain degree for a quarterback, or maybe positioning yourselves for a free agency market 2 years from now, like maybe go try to get somebody big like Denver just did, or, I don't know what that would be. Maybe chase Kyler Murray or whoever. I don't know whoever the next quarterback move would be. And I'm almost all, I'm all like, let's just do something. Let's just do something. If not, we're still going to be waiting for the answer in the future. So I just don't really even have a problem rolling with Darnold for another year, drafting a tackle and then saying, you know what, new coach, new quarterback. So like any of those things, until we get a quarterback, we don't got a quarterback. Next call.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Hey guys, it's Joey, and I have a question for all of you, but especially Cody, since he's the draft nut. Or, well, maybe not some. Well, anyway, do you guys think that we've done enough in free agency with our offensive line that we should really go hard for a quarterback this year?
Like, who is that, though?
Or do you think that we need to stick with our original plan, offensive line, or Charlotte will be boarded up again like in 2020, which was like in the season, that's what we were all saying on the chat, especially, well, mostly me. I was saying, well, if they don't do something about that damn O-line in the draft in the first round, then we're all going downtown and we're going to start rioting and burning shit. So, do you think it's that big of a deal, or do you think we really should go after a quarterback this year, knowing that Matt Rhule is still our coach, and Matt Rhule has a very, he has a potential to be a fool again next year? Should we just make Matt Rhule lay in his bed that he made with Sam Darnold and beef up our O-line and wait till next year when the QBs are better, or should we get a QB this year? I personally think I would, honestly, I hate to say this, but fans who are diehards like myself will watch any damn thing. I think we should just make Matt Rhule lay in his damn bed and beef up our O-line so we can just hit the ground running in 2 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys. Wow.
Threw that out a little bit, didn't they?
I love it. Listen, I'll go fast just because my answer is very short, sweet, and to the point. Matt Rhule, just like Matt Rhule didn't play into my Deshaun Watson evaluation, just like I thought Deshaun would outlast Matt Rhule. I think if the Panthers, specifically the Panthers front office, if they like a quarterback in this year's class, Matt Rhule is not going to be the reason why I wouldn't draft one. Now, I understand that. I hear that if you fire Matt Rhule, then there's the chances that you're going to bring in a coach next year who didn't sign off on the quarterback that we drafted. To me, that would not be enough of a reason to prevent us from drafting a quarterback. If they like Malik Willis, if they like Kenny Pickett, if they like Matt Corral, dude, bad quarterback class be damned. I mean, if you have your guy that you feel like can be a franchise quarterback and do all the things that a modern NFL quarterback can do, then I think that you take him. So that's pretty simple for me.
All right, next call.
Hey guys, it's Chuck from Elizabeth City, aka Carolina Sports Guy again. I gotta stop y'all in your tracks. Cody, you gotta slow down, brother. Listen, I understand the temptation for taking Malik Willis. I don't even understand Kenny Pickett, really. If we had not thrown Cam away like we did, even though he was worn out, put the money on Bridgewater, blew it up. Put the money on Darnold, blew it up. We keep reaching and reaching and reaching. The difference is if Pittsburgh trades up for Malik Willis, they haven't really put the draft capital and the money on a quarterback since Roethlisberger. So if they crash and burn, they are due for a crash and burn. If we do this, we're going to be Detroit, Jacksonville, these teams that suck all the time. Because we keep rebuilding the same project and it doesn't work. Now, I understand if we miss out on a quarterback, it's a bad thing. But it's just like the damn building an airplane, guys. We keep getting in the Orville Wilbur Wright airplane and we're crashing and burning. Y'all are trying to jump on the damn Hindenburg and it's already on fire. Put it down and drive the damn car. Get you offensive line fixed. Or pick a defensive impact star like one of these defensive ends. If some reason none of them are there, we trade back, don't get who we want, and the quarterback is there, fine. But I just do not think we should gamble because we don't have our offensive line quite solidified yet. Even if we get Dwayne Brown in free agency, I'd rather get Penny or somebody like that in the draft. We still could use another defensive line. Hutchinson, Thibodeau. I'm telling you guys, if we get one of these quarterbacks, the time to develop them, or if they're not the right one and we reach them and get a quarterback like we have thrown the monkey wrench in the machine again. Don't do it.
Great call.
I mean, I think it's a valid point. If you don't really believe in these guys, if you truly don't believe in these guys, then don't pick them. at all. I don't care if it's the third round. I mean, that's what really gets me upset with like the Will Grier pick. It's like I don't think he really believed in it in the first place. Like it's like such an outside pick. It's like either do it. That's what I like is the idea of a team just trading up. I mean, or like I'm not saying we need to trade up, but I'm just saying like either do it or shit or get off the pot. So if you don't believe in these guys, and if you are suspect like Chuck is in this case, then you should draft offensive line. But if you also, I mean, I think there is an argument too that the draft narrative of these quarterbacks not being good or not being a good class has put shade on this concept. And I really would like to know if Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett were in last year's draft class, where would they be in the pecking order?
I mean,
would they still be after Mac Jones? Would they be at the back end of it?
I think people will probably value Mac Jones and what he did from a reading the field standpoint and spreading the ball around. His, ability to read the field. I think that, again, I've told you this before. I have Kenny Pickett rated higher than I would have Mac Jones last year. I think that Pickett is a better prospect. And I think that Malik Willis, long term, with his high ceiling abilities, also has the potential to be a much better quarterback than Mac Jones. I think a good comparison to or that you made, I believe a week or two ago, Tony, was Trey Lance, a guy who comes from a smaller school but has the ability to run, has the power for an arm, the cannon to be able to push the ball downfield, fit the ball into tight windows. That's something that I feel Malik Willis and Trey Lance were kind of on the same page. And Trey Lance went number 3 last year. So, again, Tony, it kind of goes back to that one thing that you said, too. If you like a quarterback at all in the first round, be it, 25 or 1, whatever it is, if you like a quarterback, you should take that quarterback. Yeah. And I'll pass the mic to CK after this because, CK, one of the things that I hear a lot online, I hear it in our chat room, I just inevitably hear this, is that the Panthers should move drafting a quarterback down the road to next year. Kind of like what Chuck just said. Use the 6th pick, draft an offensive lineman, continue to build upon this team, and then next year try and get that quarterback. Do you think that's a good idea? Because from my mind, I see it as being difficult to even be in the kind of range that you want to be in to draft your preferred quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's hard to look at this team and see they're going to be worse, right, than last year. I think that there is hope, and I think it's easy for a lot of teams to say that, right? I think that is true. But it is like, I mean, I feel like we lost some pieces, but we filled more pieces than we lost. And I think that, indicates to me that we're probably going to see a shift in our at least our win-loss column going more to having, I'm not saying a significant amount of W's, but the problem with that is if you don't go quarterback, then now you're talking about being farther back in the draft next year. And that's the potential. Here's the thing is if you like him, you got to go for him, right? Yeah. This can't be a scenario where you can't hope that you're going to be in a position to draft the guy next year. You just can't hope for that because then you're going to be stuck with a guy that you maybe didn't like as much as you like Malik Willis because you decided to wait until next year and somebody else liked your guy more than you did and traded up to the number 1 pick like the 49ers did to the number 2 pick or number 3 pick last year. Like, I mean, if you like a guy, it's like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. If you like this guy, don't sit there and wait because there might be somebody who's better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And CK, to add to that too, next year, so after the Panthers have done all their restructuring, next year, that's when we're going to be on the hook for most of the money that we just restructured. Mm-hmm. So it kind of appears to be at least that our free agency cycle next year it's not going to be as robust as it could potentially have been this year, and it might still be this year. So also knowing that too, if you wanted to trade up and draft your quarterback, if you weren't in range, but then you're not going to have a very good free agency, and you're not going to have a lot of draft picks if you did want to move up and go and grab your quarterback next year. So a lot of moving parts to this, man.
Yeah.
Lots of different ways that this can go. And that's what I'm saying. Anyone's guess as to how this goes is as good as anyone else's.
Next call.
Hey guys, Chuck from Elizabeth City, aka Carolina Sports Guy. Calling one last time. I just kind of want to address something about free agency. Last year we thought we had a pretty good free agency, and we thought we had won today. And of course, Hassan Reddick had an incredible year. The 1-year deal proved that he was well worth the money. He moved on to greener pastures. He was as good as advertised. It could happen to Bozeman. I know Bozeman wants to finish his career here, but we got him on a 1-year deal. If he shines and does great, so he can reach the highest bidder. We look at Morgan Fox as a guy. I thought he played pretty good. And we cut him loose. Now, the one thing about Morgan Fox, I think it's because Davion Nixon is improving to a point, and being that we got him on a rookie deal, they could save some money by letting Morgan Fox go and put that money elsewhere. And that's why you got a guy like Davion Nixon. And I think that's why DeQuan Jones is let go as well. And you bring in a guy like Ioannidis from Washington in.
I just saw this. Why isn't this news anywhere?
Good. Looks like we've done a good job. I never liked the Cam Urban or the Pat Elflein deal. This year, I really like the signings. Corbett, Hecker, Bozeman. I really like a lot of the picks. But at the end of the day, when they get to the end of the season, a couple of these guys are not going to pan out. One or two of them might not make the roster. A couple of them on a 1-year deal. We might even get rid of guys that sign on a 2 or 3 year deal. You just try to throw it against the wall and hope that a few of them stick. Some of them won't. And that's the way it goes. So we just got to see how it goes with these free agents before we really award it as the best thing. I do really like the Xavier Woods pick. I thought that was really good. We'll see.
I agree with you. I'm not going to get overly excited about this free agency season. I've done that in the past. Actually, it's like some of these guys will be good additions, some won't. Some will work out, some won't.
Right.
I just don't. I don't know why all of a sudden it's like, oh, we have this really competent offseason we're having. That's a lot of interesting hope to me and credit. I think some of that is like we're trying to shift our ire from Matt Rhule, creates optimism for Scott Fitterer. So we want to be like, well, look at this. Thank God we got somebody doing something that they're supposed to be doing. I also think that it's kind of strange how much teams pay people, acquire people, trade for people, and really know very little about those people. Yeah. I heard them describing Xavier Woods, and they were like, well, from everything we've heard, he's like a really smart dude, and this, and like, it's like, what, have you not met with him? Like it felt like you didn't even know who he was, and you were just like, we got to look down this free agency list and find somebody that's going to play safety, and pull up the Google and Google this dude up. Google him up.
I told you, man, we can do their jobs. When you look at how they put their big board together, man, we could honestly do their job.
I agree. I mean, I don't think they're as cool and as smart as people like us to believe they are.
Yeah.
So interesting point there. Next call.
Hi, what's up, fellas?
What's up, Carl D?
Just calling to see what's going on.
Carl D, it's been a minute, baby.
I'm with you. It bombs. It sucks that we can get Deshaun, but that's all right. If they do draft a quarterback, I say take Willis instead of Pickett. I'm seeing Pickett as more of a one-hit wonder. I mean, he only came onto the scene this past season really, and that was the hype from the media, like they did Trubisky, and we all know about the Trubisky thing when he got so hyped up after one season. Anyway, oh yeah, I just realized we got Xavier Woods.
Oh, speak of the smart dude.
Wow. Well, we can look at it this way, fellas. At least we can, since we got him, at least we know that we can find salvation in the fact that we're going to be getting Kofi Kingston and the rest of the New Day,
What's he talking
so
about?
Panther fans, don't you feel sour? Feel the power.
Oh, this is a wrestling thing. That's what that is, because Xavier Woods is a wrestler.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
wrong.
My bad, guys. I forgot.
that is
Sorry about that. My mistake. The safety Xavier Woods.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. He's fell off the last 2 seasons in Dallas.
No, but he played last year in Minnesota.
Maybe he do good. I don't know. You tell me. I do have one thing. Do you guys really think this new offensive line it looks great on paper, but are they really going to be that good?
We have no way of knowing. So we see it.
All right, guys, you keep pounding.
Yeah, well, let me ask you that. I think this is that first, the offensive line can only go one direction after last year, right? It's like if it gets worse than it was last year, and this was actually my problem the year before. I was actually complimentary of the offensive line in 2020 with Teddy Bridgewater. And I didn't try to say they were a good offensive line. I just said, man, that's like one of the better performances we've had from an offensive line in a while. Like,
yeah.
It was, you usually bring the ugliest girl to the party, and you brought like not the worst. This isn't the worst looking one you brought in the past, Carolina. Last year was a downgrade from a below average line to an awful one. And look, even the coaches were just adamant about it. They didn't really know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. That's like one of the things is I almost feel like maybe Matt Rhule, he's like going to see Xavier Woods and be like, dude, my kid's a big fan of your pro wrestling career too. He'd be like, I'm sorry, I just Googled your name. I didn't really know anything about you. They don't know anything. Like now all of a sudden they believe in Brady Christensen. I don't trust anything. And my question to you, Cody, is I don't think it can be worse. We're very excited about this Boseman guy. A lot of people are excited about that. How did we get him so cheap? If he's so good, why did we not have to pay him more money? Why we got to pay like people like Cam Irvin a lot of money, and we got him on a relatively good contract.
Yeah, and then a 1-year deal too. So I think that maybe played into it. It's not for very long. It's a 1-year deal. And on top of that too, him and his wife have been really fantastic on Twitter and on the internet. I mean, they've been learning about the Carolina Panthers. They've been really excited and interacting with fans of the team. I definitely recommend that. Yeah, definitely. Someone in our Discord even wanted us to try and get them to interview him. So that might be a cool thing. That's
a good idea. I mean, he gave away a jersey for the best jersey edit and stuff that.
I mean, they seem to be very cool people. They seem to fit into the family atmosphere that the Panthers are trying to build in the locker room. And I mean, look, everyone is going to question our offensive line moves until we see it fixed. I mean, that's flat out. We all wanted Pat Elflein and Cam Irving to be good last year. We didn't think that they would, but we wanted them to be successful. I think that we have far more reason to believe in Austin Corbett and Bradley Bozeman than we did Pat Elflein and Cam Irving. I think that they're much better players at their positions. I think when you look at the Panthers wanting to be a run-first football team, being aggressive, big, powerful men up front, I think Bozeman and Corbett go a long way in helping us do just that. Partly, and you've heard me say this for the millionth time, I think Brady Christensen and Deontay Brown are going to be starters for the Carolina Panthers. So If you add those two young guys to the equation, then you add Corbett and Bozeman, then you add Taylor Moton to this mix, it's not unreasonable to assume that this year the Panthers' offensive line could take a very meaningful, very realistic, big-time step forward.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at this Bozeman stats. Oh, sorry. You were talking about Bozeman. You were like wondering how he got so cheap. I'm wondering that too. I'm looking at him. He's played over 2,000 snaps in the last 2 years, 2,100 snaps in the last 2 years, 3 penalties and 4 sacks allowed.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know. I just don't get it, to be honest. Like, what? How did we land this? Is that because I saw his name as a target that people wanted? Like, oh, I'd really like to get this Bozeman, and then all of a sudden we were signing him, and I looked at it, I was like, he didn't ruin our cap. He didn't do anything. Like, how do we
6'5", 315 in his 4th year, about to start his 3rd year, or excuse me, 4th year out of Alabama? I mean, everything about him sounds great.
Yeah. All right, next call.
Hey guys, it's me, Connor, and so I have a very interesting
Connor, what's up, bro?
Call to get through. So a lot of you guys, of course, may not believe me on this, but it is true. So when I was coming home from my lacrosse game on Sunday, we stopped to eat lunch at Panera Bread, and at Panera Bread, I saw, I'm not even joking, I saw Matt Rhule, David Tepper, and Scott Fitterer all sitting down with Gardner Minshew and Baker Mayfield. You guys. Now, I would send a photo, but my phone was dead when I did this. So, yeah, I just thought that would be interesting.
Wow.
For you guys. I know you guys probably would not believe me, but it is true. I saw
Panera.
Matt Rhule, David Tepper, and Scott Fitterer sitting down with Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, love Panera. Oh, I love it. Way to go, Connor.
I believe him, yo. Awesome. I don't know why, but I do.
I tell you, who would you rather have, Baker Mayfield or Gardner Minshew?
Dude, I would rather swallow thumbtacks.
I mean, if I had
really, that's kind of rude. I don't think that they would be a better. You just said that you're willing to bring Cam back. I mean, that would be better than Sam Darnold. Both
Cam
of them.
Newton is better than Sam Darnold. Cam Newton's better than Gardner Minshew. Cam Newton is better than Baker Mayfield. I believe that.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
I mean, I'm not going to really argue. I mean, I don't want to argue over that. I don't think that Baker Mayfield's all that great. I think
Gardner. How about that? There's your answer. I would write off the season. I would have no reason to believe in the Panthers.
I wouldn't. I think Baker Mayfield gives you a chance to win. I think he's like, I just don't think, I think he would be no worse than Sam Darnold.
Baker Mayfield
wouldn't write it off entirely, but it would be interesting because Ben McAdoo didn't have a lot of good things to say about him when he came out of college. That's funny, is Ben McAdoo's talked trash about all the quarterbacks Carolina has. He talked trash about Sam Darnold. He talked trash about Baker Mayfield. You know, the one guy he might like is Gardner.
Hey, but
he had a little time with him in Jacksonville.
Also just mention that Connor has already leveled up to the point of making really fantastic cat calls. Like for a minute, dude, he had you for like halfway through the call. We actually think that he's about to tell us some player that he saw at Panera Bread coming home.
He got us.
Hey, the troll game is strong with you, Connor.
Next call.
What it do, my boys?
Supreme
the one and only Mike, aka Supreme Elitas.
What up, Mike?
What's going on, my boys? I can't always be there every Tuesday night in the chat, holding it down with all the C3 faithfuls. And boy, been working a lot, in these streets, trying to fight inflation.
Hey, do that.
Just know that I'm always listening. When I have a chance, I always listen. You guys are my first Panthers podcast, and it helps out there on the road. So I appreciate it, fellas.
Thanks,
appreciate
brother.
all you do.
Appreciate you, Mike.
Anywho, not a lot really going on. It's Well, first there is one thing going on. First it was Shy Smith.
Oh yeah, we forgot about that.
Caught up in all that shit.
That was on Friday
And
for the
then
free
it's
for
Will
all.
Smith getting caught up in all that shit.
A lot of Smiths.
I ain't afraid to say it on in front of the world. My last name is Smith.
Oh,
and
you've had a better week.
All right.
All right, so it troubles me to see what's going on, in the community. But keep moving forward, boys. Got to keep moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
With draft, just waiting on the draft to happen because I think we can go ahead and call it now that the Malik Willis pipe dream is out of the question because I could really see Detroit taking Malik, and I mean, who wouldn't want to play for a coach that wants to eat people's kneecaps? Isn't that what he said? He likes eating kneecaps for breakfast. Yeah, I think he's going there. They got picks galore. Why not draft him to rejuvenate Detroit? You know what I'm saying? So it's trade back. That's all I gotta say. Keep pounding Panther pride till I die.
Thank you, man, for your support. By the way, guys, we have looked it up. Let me just pulled it up. We have 3,470 subscribers on YouTube right now. Our goal of getting to 3,500 by the draft is attainable, folks. It is obtainable. We've been really growing with your help. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, I appreciate it if you just hit that subscribe and the notification bell and check out our work. And a thumbs up is a good way to support our content in the off season. You can see other ways to support the podcast monetarily, streaming across the bottom and things like that. But really, we just we love hanging out with you guys, and you can call in at 252-228-5098.
Hey guys, Joey again, and I just thought of something which I know is dangerous. You know what? I kind of like to have Baker Mayfield here. Not because I think he's that good, just to see him go at it with Matt Rhule. Oh, dude, I would love that. You get Baker Mayfield in here, have Rhule do that 2-quarterback shit. Baker Mayfield goes, hey, coach, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you putting that bum in when you know I can play, but you're not doing your job? And Matt Rhule would go after him, and then, of course, Matt Rhule already being on thin ice, everybody would be siding with Baker Mayfield, which I don't like the proposition of it, people siding with Mayfield because he's drama queen, he's an asshole. But, yeah, if it gets Matt Rhule to either coach like he means it or gets him out of here, yeah, I'll do it. Anyway, guys.
Wow. Next call.
Honestly, C3, Miss No here too. Honestly, C3, I actually think that we should just draft a young quarterback that can throw the ball, who can get out of sticky situation under pressure. I don't think Sam Darnold can do that. I mean, yeah, he's a good quarterback. He's decent, but I don't think that he's not good for our team. He's probably a different team, but not for our team. I feel like we should never paid him $18 million for and a few draft picks. I'm saying he's not that expensive. We should have never paid the Jets that much money. I don't think that. I feel like just that. And I think that I don't know. I hope we get either Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis is probably going to be pretty hard to see his total. I mean, that man was on fire. But I think it's going to be Kenny Pickett, though. Keep pounding.
Yeah, I think he's right, man.
Draft is on his way.
He's probably right, to be honest. Is Pickett, I mean, they know. I don't know. One of the things that's been floating around on Twitter, guys, is how much of this talk about quarterbacks and this and that is smoke. Some people believe that the Panthers are putting out a lot of information, trying to get people to believe that they're going to be going after a quarterback in hopes that pushing one of these tackles down. Some people think that. On the other hand, I feel like the Panthers have just been so blatantly open about their quarterback desperation that this is just one more example of it. I don't even know if it's smoke. I mean, all we've done is talk about quarterback.
We can't.
I think it's no. Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
No, that's all I was gonna say. Good. We can't hide it.
I mean, no. I think it's the other way around. I think they're so desperate for a quarterback, they're trying to feign like, oh well, you never know. A good offensive tackle might be there for the Panthers at number 6, and we might draft it. Like the Panthers are in so desperate need for a franchise quarterback and a franchise left tackle that you could literally be having the same conversation about both positions. That maybe we're trying to hype up an offensive lineman because we want a quarterback to fall. Hey, maybe we're hyping up the quarterbacks because we want an offensive lineman to fall. It's like pick your poison, man. The Panthers are in desperate need, or well, at least perceivedly so. They're in desperate need of a left tackle, and many fans are hopeful that Brady Christensen can be that left tackle. I think that's why most people are putting quarterbacks as a higher need for the Panthers right now than left tackle, because we do believe in Brady Christensen.
Yeah.
I just think from a fan perspective, imagine how much more excited we would be for the 2022 season if we knew that, man, we're going to be able to watch a young quarterback this year go out on the field and sling.
You would sell us hope. You would sell us hope.
Hope.
If you pick a left tackle, it might turn out to be the right decision in the long run, but it's not going to garner optimism until we get a quarterback. Like it's still, you know what I mean? It's like it's like you're going to go out there. They're going to have rookie struggles next year as a left tackle. They will. And maybe they have like the greatest season like Slater or whatever, and you're still going to be going, man, I wish we had a quarterback. And until then, it's going to be about the future. When you draft that quarterback and you really believe in them, you think the future is starting to happen. And that's where the hope is. It's just going to move the needle enough. And that's why, again, I say this: if the Panthers draft a left tackle, you can go ahead and say Matt Rhule's a dead man walking. Mm-hmm. He might already be, for all we know. But you draft a left tackle or an offensive lineman here, or you draft another defensive player, heaven forbid, or something like that, you can go ahead and send Matt Rhule his walking papers and give the reins to McAdoob in week 10. If you draft a quarterback, you're selling us hope. You're selling us the future, and it might not be right away. We might not win. You know what? I don't even care if they don't even start the whole year. You're still going this. It's like we got it. We're just waiting to put the pieces around. We don't want to rush them in. We don't want to do this. We don't want to ruin them. Mm-hmm. You know, you do basically what the San Francisco 49ers did with Trey Lance, and they knew they took on a project. Trey Lance had more development than a lot of these. I would say is arguably needs just as much development as Willis. Malik Willis.
And how about this? The 49ers might not be able to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. Last time I heard, the trade market for Garoppolo is dead.
Well, man, it's his shoulder.
Yeah, and either that or they're just not receiving anywhere near the compensation that they thought they were going to receive for him.
They said that nobody called, bro. That's what they said. Nobody called. And I think I think it's understandable.
Yeah.
Is that he's coming off an injury. They're not even sure if he's going to be ready for training camp. So, who's going to trade for a quarterback that was just a game manager at best?
The Carolina Panthers.
The Panthers would. I was about to say.
That seems that.
Well, you know, at least Sam Darnold wasn't hurt, though. At least Sam Darnold wasn't hurt.
But
the Panthers would do that. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, he was his last year in New York
under with a better team, and not that I think he's the answer.
His last year in New York Sam Darnold was statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL. And you were gambling on your ability to put a different situation around him.
And you put a worse situation around him, sadly.
You put a worse offensive line in front of him. And then that's what I'm saying. Okay. You can sell us Panther fans on that for 1 year. You had 1 year to show us that Sam Darnold could be a franchise quarterback. You don't get another one, man. And
that's sure. Is that you want to talk the opposite of hope is us trying to trot out Sam Darnold and picking the offensive lineman. That's the opposite of hope.
And by the way, I might be wrong. I'm willing to eat my words multiple times if I need to do so. But hear me now. David Tepper is not going to let Sam Darnold be the starting quarterback next season. I mean, he's not. It's not our only option. He will not let that happen.
A lot of people are saying trade back, and I understand that. I think the trade back is a fear move a little bit. Is like that means you're scared to pick the guy that you really think. I mean, having that premium pick is so good, but I understand. Like we lost a lot of assets last year in the Sam Darnold trade, in the CJ Henderson trade, and the Dan Arnold, all of these, some of the movement we just didn't, we thought we were loaded for acquiring picks in the future. And it just turns out we don't have any now. Like that was the strange part. We were talking about how good Fitterer stacks picks and manipulate the draft. And then by the end of the season, all of those assets that he acquired were gone. That kind of stunk. If you do want to trade back, do you get on the phone with Pittsburgh and you say this is if Willis slips past 2, we don't want to pick him. We're not ready to pick him at 6. If you guys want it, we're ready to deal because they got the 20th pick. And then what would they have to give us to move from 20 to 6?
I mean, you're having to give up at least 2 first-round draft picks. I think you have to.
This year and next year's, you just said?
Yeah, this year, next year, and probably more. Probably like a third or something along the lines. There's a chart that we use on Draft Tech that shows like the number of compensation. Like if you're trying to move from the 20th pick to the 6th pick, the 6th pick has a number value. Like that 6th pick in the draft is worth this much. So you would have to give up something of equal amount in order for that compensation to be, met. So basically the Steelers, they would have to give us a first-round pick this year, a first-round pick next year, and probably more. But my thing is this, Tony, like what do you do in that scenario? It's like, if we drafted a quarterback, you're selling the fans on hope. Well, what are you selling the fans on then? That you just have a souped-up roster that hopefully even Sam Darnold is competent enough to win behind?
I think you're selling them the future, and that is we're building a team that we're going to try to go and aggressively get a quarterback in free agency / trading in the future. Like then you're starting to parlay those picks into getting whoever that – I don't even know who the quarterback is, though, that you would be targeting. I mean, there's been so much movement.
Stroud, but he might be the number one.
No, I'm talking about like a veteran top pick, top quarterback, like
next year,
like the next Deshaun Watson, like the next. I don't know who that is. The Kyler Murray. I don't know who it is at this point, but that would be one thing because they did say that they're trying to build a team that they can just plop a quarterback in. And I don't think you can just get to plop a rookie quarterback in and think it's going to be all great from the beginning. Maybe. I mean, that's like a really great scenario. That's like a plop Russell Wilson in, plop Carr in, or something like that. That's one option. But I agree. I mean, I'm like, that's why I'm kind of pick a quarterback. I just don't know if it's going to work. I just don't want to I'm telling you, the land with no quarterback is a land I don't want to live in anymore.
Well,
I'm done, tired of it.
Can I ask you guys, Cody? You would probably know the best because you're the best draft expert here. What are the odds that, like, say Pittsburgh did call us and we traded back to 20 and they gave us the first-round pick this year, first-round pick next year, their second this year, and maybe just a player that they throw in there, nothing special. But and we take that, what are the odds that maybe Corral falls to us?
Right. Oh, great question.
Pretty high.
Because I've seen mock drafts that have no quarterback going in the first round.
Let me tell you the reason why I don't know if it's high. And I think Tony can attest to this too. Once it comes to draft time, the quarterbacks always get overvalued. They always get hyped up. Everybody starts to get really excited about them, and then they start to go. I mean, I don't know. I really personally, I don't think it's a guarantee that either of them last that long. They could, but again, think of all the different destinations that a quarterback would have to go past to even get to us at 20.
There's
New
not
York,
a lot of quarterback hungry places though.
Like New York and
Seattle
Washington
is one. Washington is one. Another one that none of you are thinking about is the Falcons. Another one that you're not thinking about is New Orleans. I think New Orleans would love a chance at a prospect like a Matt Corral, behind that offensive line. I mean, think of a Drew Brees with a bigger arm. They would love a prospect like that. So,
do you hear your boy Taysom Hill got moved to tight end officially?
Well, I heard that he's training more at tight end, because they signed Jameis. But that doesn't preclude them from drafting a quarterback, though.
Somebody said this in the chat. I thought this was cool. Is a trade with Green Bay so they could get their top wide receiver and tell them to give us the 22 and the 28th pick. It's pretty interesting.
How about?
I don't know.
And,
is that
what's his name? The Jordan Love, the guy that they drafted.
For Jordan Love.
Man, well, he stinks, obviously.
But the thing is, them signing Rodgers that contract, doesn't that mean they probably don't have as much faith in Jordan Love?
Or they just realize Aaron Rodgers is like the cat, like the money. Maybe. It doesn't matter how good that dude is. He ain't better than Aaron Rodgers. But that Aaron Rodgers contract blew everything out of the water, and now they're a different team. They're going to need some weapons. They don't got any weapons. And Matt LaFleur came out and said they need somebody to take the top off of defense.
Yep.
So they're going to be looking. But they have, at 2 first-round picks, they have the ability to move up into the teens and get a guy. Or, I mean, they could. I just don't know who wants to move up to 5. Is there a wide receiver in this draft that's worth moving to our 6th pick? I mean,
they
I don't even know that.
DJ Moore.
Could you imagine DJ Moore
and
well, that's what Green Bay is going to need now. They don't have Devontae Adams anymore. They lost Valdez whatever, who wasn't that good anyway. They need some talent at wide receiver. Is there a receiver on the board?
They would need to trade up. I think whatever, this year's receiver class is not as star-studded as years past. So
they might have a guy that they like that's sitting there at 28.
Yeah.
22. All right, next call.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's Nick. Hey, so just went back and I was rewatching the Scott Fitterer press conference. And at about 2 minutes, 45 seconds in, Scott says something a little, I mean, I know it's dissecting every word that he's saying, but he says something a little weird if you pick up on it, okay? Basically, he's asked about Sam and, his thoughts on how the quarterback room is going to look. And his words were, we plan on adding a lot to that room.
Yes. He said we ain't dealing with Sam.
The wording could be slightly off, but I know the 2 words a lot were used. So that leads me to believe that he's looking at putting 2 quarterbacks into that room. Now, who do you think that is? My opinion is Cam Newton and Malik. Okay. The other question I have for you guys, too, is if you had to take a quarterback, okay, in this year's draft, in the first round, which one of the quarterbacks are you taking? That is not an option. Have to take a quarterback. Keep pounding, guys.
Keep pounding.
Malik Willis answering that immediately. Malik Willis.
Yeah, I agree. He's the top guy.
Yep. Yeah, we all appear to be on the same page, man. I think Malik Willis, if you bet on on this young man. I think it will pay off in dividends. There is nothing physically that he cannot do from the quarterback position. And he's incredibly intelligent too. So I think if you give him enough time to continue to learn and grow, and when you continue to add on to the fact that he has talent here, he has guys that can actually win their matchups and get some separation. Imagine him throwing downfield to DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. Imagine him being able to run RPO concepts with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, you have all these different options that are available to you. I think we have the talent to make him successful. And listen, I also don't want to, like, okay, for example, if we would have drafted Mac Jones last year, I would have been disappointed. I really would have, because even though he's a good quarterback, I think you're already seeing a prospect who is at his proverbial ceiling.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
You're not getting a player that is going to do the Josh Allen type of things, you know, that you saw him do in the playoffs, right? Whereas
Josh Allen do it against them.
It is reasonable, I think, to believe that Malik Willis can one day do those Josh Allen types of things. Now, when that day is, I don't necessarily know. But I'm inclined to believe that he will be able to get it done and make that kind of a leap.
I don't want to preclude Kenny Pickett from that conversation either.
Yes, true.
And I think that just the very fact, look, is Kenny Pickett's mobile enough? Mobile enough. Like, you don't need always a quarterback that can run around like Mike Vick. So, I mean, yeah, is it nice to have super mobility and athleticism? Sure. I'd rather be athletic than not athletic. Right. But I don't want to just say because Kenny Pickett doesn't have the most bazooka arm I've ever seen in my life that he's not going to be able to be successful. Peyton Manning didn't have a bazooka of an arm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and like, is that, and so what I'm saying is this is like, as long as your arm isn't a hindrance to your success, right? Which I think that Kenny Pickett can make most of the throws. He's just not going to be able to throw off his back foot in bad situations,
right?
And in a missile-like manner. But that doesn't mean he can't be successful. So I don't want to
just is on par with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I just don't want to exclude him from the conversation because he doesn't have the most elite traits we've ever seen in a prospect.
Well, I mean,
right?
I think it's fair to say that, you know, at least in my opinion, I don't think any of us are saying that he can't be good, right? But when your question is if we can choose any quarterback in this draft, I would pick Malik Willis. Doesn't mean Kenny Pickett can't be good. That's basically saying, like, you know, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and you know, which one would you pick? Well, you're not going to be wrong on either one because both are incredibly good at the game of football and at the position of quarterback. You know, it's possible both of these guys are very good, but
I just don't want to get locked into what this guy is now, like what Cody was saying for Mac Jones.
Well,
and
I'm glad you
this is just like I think about just back to the Cam Newton draft. Is like people are like they're playing scared at that point. And they're playing for what's the guy? Who cares what he's going to do in week one? He's a rookie. He's not supposed to be at his best. And they were telling us Blaine Gabbert was a more pro-ready quarterback. They told us that Jimmy Clausen was a more pro-ready quarterback. Yeah. And ultimately, that just means they played in bigger programs, and they saw them play with higher levels of talent that then allowed those offenses to be more complicated. Right. When you got the best offensive line in college football and you've got all of this talent, you can do all kinds of crazy shit. Right. But a lot of these guys, half of these pro-ready quarterbacks, they're still holding up faces Obama, and that means something on the sideline. It's like, come on. It's like, I just don't like this. I think that's playing scared.
Can I go back real quick to this Mac Jones comparison we were making a minute ago when we were talking about if you drafted Mac Jones last year, you'd have been disappointed. I just compared the stats. Mac Jones had a better rookie year than either of Josh Allen's first 2 years. I don't know any reason why we have any reason to say you couldn't believe in Mac Jones or you think he's hit his ceilings. we've seen him in 1 year, just like we were just saying, and he did well in that 1 year.
Yeah,
he
but
did better than Josh Allen in his first 2 years.
But here's the
Just on
difference.
receptions and rating.
Here's the difference is when Mac Jones came to the NFL, like he was considered the most NFL ready out of any of the prospects. But it was known that he didn't have the ability to get better. Like, and I'm not saying he can't be more of a Tom Brady-esque, like being able to get the ball distributed correctly and be more cerebral. But the reason Josh Allen is he was drafted as a project. And right now, Josh Allen is showing that project is paying off. Yeah, Josh Allen has
the long bet. It's the long bet. It's like, yeah, you can make some money playing black and red and roulette, red and black, but that's like you're not ever going to make a giant amount of money. And I think this is, again, going back with Josh Allen, though, credit to the Bills for sticking with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Through right away is that we get so quick to change gears. They gave him time to succeed. I think you're going to need to give Pickett, any player, I don't care who it is, any player that is an unknown commodity, you have to give them enough time to find out what that commodity is.
Right.
And so, all right, next call.
Hey, guys, it's Joey again. You know what?
He just wants to growl.
I don't know if to call it a joke, but could you imagine Matt Rhule on The Biggest Loser? I think even my blind ass would watch that. I think he might be able to win.
Are we not already watching it?
Anyway.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is the biggest loser. On the NFL stage, he's certainly the biggest loser.
Yeah, not the biggest, but he's not. He's in the front running. Wow. I hope he turns it around, man. I tell you this, is you draft a rookie quarterback, you might be able to sell us enough hope. You go out there, you win a few too many games and do some things, and we start believing in the future. We might be listening to those Matt Rhule speeches and being like, man, Malik Willis wants to be coached hard. Next call.
Yeah, I really hope we do go with the QB or get like a franchise guy because I'm tired. I mean, it's the second off season that we're having this where we're all like, who's our quarterback? Sam Darnold plays, we're going to do terrible. We had that conversation with Bridgewater last off season. Then we got Darnold thinking he can like revive his career coming from the Jets to Carolina, but he unfortunately didn't. And now we have the same conversation. Who the hell is going to be our quarterback? Now, if we go offensive tackle, I'm still thinking, who the hell is going to be our quarterback?
Yes.
And, I mean, if we do, I mean, we're going to suck next year. We're going to be mediocre at best. And then in that offseason, we'll have the same conversation again. Who the hell is going to be the quarterback? I'm just so tired of having this conversation. I just hope we get our franchise guy through the draft. And
the land without a quarterback is a scary land to live in. And I want you to go back to the tape. And this is not me being a told you so person, and not a receipt thing, but I've been a very vocal Cam Newton supporter from day one, because I felt like for the first time in a long time, we had a quarterback to believe in.
Yep.
Maybe he wasn't going to do it from day one. I mean, even though he was exciting from day one, he was exciting as fuck from day one. I ain't going to lie. But we lived in a land with a quarterback, and so many people were hypercritical of Cam Newton. They always wanted to tell us all the poor crap he did, how he wasn't the most accurate. And they were right in some degree. Like his footwork wasn't always the best. Sometimes he did throw the ball high. He did throw, like his mechanics weren't always the best thing. Sometimes he didn't. He wasn't. I always thought Cam needed to see a route open and rather than anticipate a route. So he threw to he needs to see him break away. And then that was one of the things that gave a problem when his shoulder started to wear out, is he's so used to being able to catch up with that you have to then anticipate. And I was wondering if he's going to be able to evolve as a QB. That was my next question, is how does he evolve into the next phase of his career? But I always told people this is when you're focusing all the things that he doesn't do perfect, you're forgetting to talk about all the shit he does do that's awesome, which is survive behind all this offensive line, give us a chance to win. And I told you this is that's the whole thing with Cam Newton being gone, is we are in the land with no quarterback.
Yep.
You are a ship floating on the ocean with no captain and no direction. And somebody did say something about the Sam Darnold as, like, I tell you this, I ain't ever seen in my life an organization throw so much shade on a quarterback that they might actually have to play next year.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, man, we really need to get better at this. We're going to add a lot to this quarterback room. We're going to add, like, man, it's like poor Sam. I almost feel bad for the guy at this point. He is a punching bag, dude. He's a punching. No, I think.
Look, I feel bad for none of these dudes, not because, like, dude, it's nothing personal, but we're so done with the incompetence, man. It's like, dude, you've had 4 years now. Now it's going on your 5th to show something.
I agree with that. But I think this is, I just don't like to see, that's fine that that's the case, but I don't like to see Matt Rhule and Scott Fitterer being those guys that are doing the dumping. You know, it's like, I mean, gosh, like, you're the assholes that picked them. Next call.
Hey, this is Panther Pickle, fellas. Listen, here's what I think about this upcoming draft. As it stands right now, and we got some time before the draft, well, maybe a month or something like that, but so things could change. But as it stands right now, they got 2 tackles they love. They got 3 quarterbacks they like. And right now, they hoping like hell that one of them sons of bitches is there at pick 6 so they can draft them. But you never know. I still believe either Detroit will take Malik Willis at 2, or somebody is going to trade up and take him before the Panthers. But we'll see. Y'all have a great day.
Next call.
Hey guys, it's Joey.
Oh, again. Joey again.
4th time.
Good Lord.
And
prolific.
I heard you guys talking about something that made me think of something really interesting. And that is that all that hope and all that false hope that we've been sold for, even back before Matt Rhule in what was it, 2019, which actually that wasn't false hope. 2019 was not false hope because Cam Newton was supposed to be back from his surgery and all that other stuff. That's where that hope came from. But definitely for the past 2 years, being sold this snake oil by Matt Rhule and by David Tepper, okay, do you think they would want to do something in the draft that would, like, do the same thing? I think they know that we aren't very happy with them. So I don't know if they want to continue selling us this false hope by, we'll just try this quarterback because we've already done that twice. It's already failed quite spectacularly.
They're drafting a quarterback, dude. I think they're drafting a quarterback
3 times because we brought back Cam in the middle of the season last year. So they keep selling us this hope, and I think they know that we're at our wits' end. I think they know the only thing that would make us happy as fans is, at this point, firing Rhule. Because I don't think a lot of people think that he could remotely have a year and turn this thing around. I mean, there's like a 0.00001% chance of that happening, but I think it might be able to happen. What do you guys think?
Wow.
I think they're drafting a quarterback. Last call.
Yo, what's up? This is Kevin from Charleston, man.
I'm in the club with Matt Rhule. What's up? We partying, we dancing. Let's go, Matt. Wait for the beat drop. Wait for the beat drop. Wait for the beat drop, Matt. Wait for the beat drop, Matt. Here comes the drop in.
Did you hear Pat McAfee talking about Matt Rhule?
No, I know he did. I didn't hear it though.
Yeah,
Man,
him being the
it was pretty hardcore. It's like they're talking about he's aging like a president. They said that they are worried about him. One of the guys on this panel said that they're worried about his liver. That he's been drinking in that. All he's been doing is just hitting the sauce and watching film. And then they heard this mess about the dancing, and he said, Pat Manal, Bill Belichick wasn't at the owners' meeting, so this joke was kind of inaccurate, but he was like, can you just imagine Matt Rhule and Bill Belichick and them going, two-time. What is it? How's it go, CK? Now to the left.
Yeah,
to the right.
God, what is it? Oh, it was
one time, or like whatever that is. And I was just like, gosh, to the right. Yeah.
Everybody clap your hands.
And he's just out there just having a blast. All right. Leonidas, we didn't mention that. That's been a quiet signing. The Panthers added defensive tackle. A lot of people like him he came from Washington. I think the Panthers are drafting a quarterback. We've got a month to continue to debate and argue over it, things like that. We'll see what else unfolds in free agency. I mean, there is going to be another wave. I feel like we're actually probably at the end of pre-draft free agency. I don't think you're going to find a lot of signings in the next few weeks. I think that people are going to be waiting to see how the draft unfolds, and then you'll get another wave. And to the last caller that was talking about, and maybe it's Joey was saying this, is that they got to do something. They got to sell us something. One thing we've learned about Matt Rhule and Scott Fitterer and all this, they read the headlines. They are on Twitter. And I mean, they're listening, and maybe too much at times. Matt Rhule is listening to what we have to say. I saw Scott Fitterer mention. He's like, I know a lot of people talk about Spot Rack or Sport Rack. He called it Sport Rack, Spot Rack, but the cap website, the salary cap website, and he was like, but you guys got to remember, we got to hold back some money for picks. We got to hold back some money in free agent. I just thought it was kind of interesting. He knew the website name, like he was mentioning it. I was like, you're looking at it with us. You're reading what we're saying, and then you're going checking it. I mean, like, hey, good time. All right, that's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We got one last thing to do. First, I need y'all's support. Subscribe, man. Let's hit that 3,500 and beyond by draft night. We're gonna have a big draft party this year. We're gonna start working on some of the logistics of that, and we got one last component. That's ice up picks. We're going to ice some fools up. Who wants to go first? You want me to go first?
I think we should just do the collective ice up that we all know we're going to do.
Jada Pickett Smith?
Chris Rock. I mean, he's legitimately going to need to ice up.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Did you hear? Yesterday was just like the greatest day of the internet. So somebody, I couldn't find it, but somebody put up immediately when Matt Rhule says 7-year plan, and then it was like Will Smith smacking him.
Dude, that's a moment in history. People are going to remember this time when Will Smith walked up on stage and fucking slapped another man.
Somebody said
his mouth.
That's the first hit he's had since Summertime. So that one. Somebody put Fresh Prince.
Yeah, Chris Rock woke up with Fresh Prince.
Yeah, Chris rocked. I'm gonna ice up Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yes,
I think she is the impetus for this. I hate to say this is actually I don't know. I don't hate to say anything. I don't care. It's like I'm a little stunned that Will Smith did this.
I just want to I want to add the keep my wife's name out. I want to add that as a button here So that way, when you just said Jada, I was just gonna press it. Like,
yeah, I know, for real. I would just wouldn't expect this out of Will Smith. And not that like I really even care that much that he hit somebody. Like it's the worst possible thing that ever happened. I'm gonna ice up too. And part of this is this whole people that try to shame us by they're making fun of people with alopecia. Like I hate this. It's like, first of all, I barely believe this girl got alopecia. I think she's just old. Is there not an argument that you're just losing your hair and you're old? Like, if you have alopecia, don't you really usually, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to fight over it, but like, I feel like that's a condition that people have like their whole lives too sometimes, right? It's like young people. I remember there was this quarterback that played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He came from Tennessee, played with Alvin Kamara. We tried to
Ryan Shakespeare. That's the guy that damn near broke his neck.
No. He was a linebacker. It was a quarterback. And we wanted to trade. He beat our ass one year in the fourth quarter of a preseason game. And what's that?
Mason Rudolph?
Nope. Before him, black guy.
Ooh, I can't remember his name.
I want to feel like it's not Matt Dodge. That was a punter. Remember, he was an astrophysicist too. That was the other thing. He majored at Tennessee and like some so he's super smart and all of this. And I was like, so the Panthers were reaching out to him, and this was back when Jordan Rodriguez was a reporter here to trade. And she said something like Panthers may show interest in this dude. And I said, man, I like him. I said, even if he don't got no eyebrows. And she's like, don't you know he has alopecia? And I was like, no, I fucking don't know he has alopecia. And he still don't got eyebrows, asshole. Like, I mean, like, I'm sorry. I looked at him and he didn't have Josh Dobbs. That's who it was. Josh Dobbs. So I thought Chris Rock's joke was tame. I mean, it was the most mild joke. On top of that, he is an insult comic. Like, that's why you bring Chris Rock on the stage to jab and jest the crowd a little bit. And isn't there a history of roasting a little bit at these?
Yes. But there was a history of roasting with Rock and Jada Pinkett too.
Already,
because at one point in time, she was boycotting the Oscars, and Chris Rock was the host. And Chris Rock went on stage and was like, Jada Pinkett boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited. And so
that's funny.
It's fucking awesome. And dude, my thing is this: Jada Pinkett is a woman who has been in the public know for over 30 years. She's famous. She had her opportunity to make light of it and laugh about it. Instead, she had to roll her eyes. Look, let me just keep it a buck with you, man. I know what it's like to really be disabled. You have to laugh at it, man. You have to laugh at the circumstances that that you're given in life. Dude, who gives a shit that her hair is falling out? It doesn't mean that she's above being joked at and being ribbed at when she's at the Oscars. And Chris Rock, of all people, is the one roasting her, man.
Yeah, it's just like such a bear. But here's the reason I'm icing it up is because I think I don't like her.
No one does.
And I don't like her because of, like, do you remember we talked about it on this show last year? It was another one of our ice up picks when she humiliated him and cucked him.
Yeah.
And they had that weird, awkward interview where she's like, these are my feelings, but I want to sleep with these young men. And like poor Will Smith. I mean, I'm not saying first I said this. I didn't like Will. I was like, man, have some backbone, Will.
That's what everybody's been saying.
But I think I almost felt like Will took out the frustration of his personal life on Chris Rock in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he almost tried to use this as a moment like, I'm a dog and I can defend my wife's trying to impress her.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it was crazy. I thought it was insane. I've never seen anything like that. He smacked the fucking shit out of him, dude. I mean, he hit that dude hard.
But hey, his release. I mean, he might need to work on his foot work a little bit, but his release was on point, bro. And quite honestly, I don't know. He had a great follow through. And
he was Ali.
Yeah. I think we should probably look into trading for Will Smith.
Yeah.
Best tweet I saw about it all day though yesterday was if Will Smith would have done that shit to Dave Chappelle, he would be an hour 3 of uninterrupted Jada Pinkett jokes. Like, all right, this is what you want. I don't know. Look, it sucks. I guess it sucks. Like, yeah, sometimes people's feelings get hurt. I'm not trying to defend, I'm not defending Chris Rock nor criticizing him. I saw somebody else bring a different perspective, which I didn't really think of, but they were talking about how this was the first time that a black man has been nominated for Picture of the Year or whatever it was that he got for the King Richard, with it not being like a controversial figure, with them not being like playing the part of somebody who was a gangster or whatever. And like, this was a moment for black people, and black people ruined it for black. That's what this guy was talking about and stuff. And I thought even that was a little, man, like, I didn't even think the joke was that. I don't know. I'm surprised that Will Smith got that.
The guy that was directing the Oscars was a black guy. And then the next award that Chris Rock, look, kudos to Chris Rock for staying so professional. The next award that he was going to present was like a Lifetime Achievement Award for Questlove. And it was a big time moment for him. His father had died. So, yeah, it was a big time moment for a lot of different people. And even, how about this? Will Smith won the Oscar for Best Actor on the same night.
That was the thing.
And he
that was the thing.
apologized to the Academy before he apologized.
Oh, he didn't never.
Rock.
Yeah, he never
And
apologized to Chris Rock.
That was some real sucker shit. Because one, you attacked him. He's 4 inches shorter than you, 50 pounds lighter than you. You knew he wasn't going to retaliate against you, and then you don't even have the gall to apologize to him in the same night, bro.
Well, I saw this one guy said this. The same guy that was talking, the guy that was critical of what Chris Rock did, that I saw on Facebook, and he's a big time writer. Like he produced this show on NPR that I listened to. This like serial comic. It was pretty cool, but he said this is that Chris Rock wouldn't have done that to he wouldn't have made that joke about Samuel L. Jackson's wife. Like, he thought he could get away with it with Will Smith. Like, Will Smith was a pussy.
Will Smith was laughing.
I think this is like stretching it so much. I just thought that was crazy.
You should be able to get away with that to anyone.
Yeah.
Especially if you're an actor making millions of dollars. What he said wasn't even that disrespectful. And Chris Rock,
he's a fucking comic. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Did you hear Jim Carrey said that he should sue him for $200 million today because basically Chris Rock, this image of Chris Rock getting slapped, is gonna haunt his career forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll haunt him. I think Chris will probably sell more now than he did before.
Yeah, but I mean, there's going to be this constant, like, it's sort of like when Josh Norman got stiff armed by King James.
Memes,
right?
Memes
Every time you post something on Twitter, it's going to be somebody coming back with that meme on there. It's just going to be constant. His entire career of people who want to heckle him are going to be just using that. Hey, why don't you go get bitch slap again or something like that? You know, it's just going to be uncreative assholes who are going to be utilizing this as ammunition.
He's got to go full Dave Chappelle now. He's got to come out with a Netflix special that is just dedicated to fucking up Jada Pinkett and Will Smith. Like,
all comedians are unanimously on Chris Rock's side.
They are, and this is all her fault, man. She humiliated him for over a year, and this is just an
sorceress.
I don't like her. All right, that's my ice up pick. Anybody else got something?
No, yeah, I do have one. Mine's really short and sweet and to the point, so I'll just go ahead and get mine up. I'm icing up Antonio Brown if you think that you've met Pitbull, the actual artist Pitbull in the streets, maybe you should confirm that it's actually him first. That's not Pitbull, by the way.
Take a photo real quick. Yeah. Take a photo.
Is that post
He's still wearing that fucking glove. What is up with him in the mic? He's been wearing that glove for a minute.
He said, "Hey, I love you, Pitbull." He said, "I fuck with the music, man."
He's like, I just parked the car for this asshole over here, but all right.
But dude, that's hilarious to me.
He's so stupid. He's dumb.
Yeah. So, I'm icing up and turning around.
Bat Daddy, you got something?
Why would you even want Pitbull's autograph?
Yeah, I got one real quick. Let me share this. Okay, so we see a lot of media on television and streaming services nowadays, and it's crazy some of the things that my kids watch that I'm thinking, man, I would have never been able to see this stuff, or just would have been able to be for me to be viewed when I was younger. And Disney still seems to share those same kinds of mindsets, I guess, but it seems just a little extreme. So check this. If you can put that up there. So Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're editing the blood out, and this is an example. Here, you see this top here, all this blood up here, they're editing that out for kids to censor blood and violence. Like, I get it to a certain extent. I mean, it's kind of like the way they did Clone Wars, how whenever a clone would go down, you'd always see his foot move at the end, so that way he was dead type thing. It's just weird. It's weird in this day and age with the stuff on television that kids have access to, that this is the kind of stuff Disney's hung up on. So I'm icing Disney up for that. It's crazy.
All I can think of is Mortal Kombat for Super Nintendo, where they had the gray blood rather than the red blood.
Yeah.
But also, if
you had to unlock it.
Yeah.
But Disney produced Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They produced all this. What does it do to them to retroactively go back and remove it now? They're the ones.
Why don't they just change the rating for it?
They knew that it was going to be on Disney.
Well, why don't they just change the rating? Like, I mean, just because I have Disney doesn't mean I want adult content as well. If I got Disney Plus,
that terrifies me before Deadpool comes to the MCU. Like,
right?
If they're not going to be able to handle a little blood and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, how the fuck are they dealing with Deadpool?
I love the Punisher, bro. So we'll see how they do. Like, what's going on with that? CK, you got anything?
Mine was just going to be just simply, it was going to be way too easy, low hanging fruit with Chris Rock, literally icing up due to the smack breakless face. But I think that should implement a celebrity boxing match. If there should be one, that should be.
Oh, you don't want to box Will Smith though, man. That mug's trained.
I don't know, dude. You see his footwork? He lost all of that training because he did not have any of that training. Like he did not do a very good job trying to. The dude was just the thing that was so bitchy about that was like Will Smith has had that training, and if he was wanting to be a man about it, he would have done his normal make it actually like a proper hit. The dude waited till he got up there and then did this slap that was just so impossible to see coming to be able to defend yourself that it would, and then walked off like
it looked like he thought he was going to lean in and say something to him,
right?
And whisper something to him, and then he just got smacked. I will say this: I'm more embarrassed getting slapped than I am getting punched.
Oh God,
that's why he slapped instead of punched. I believe
my wife said, "Well, why didn't he? Isn't that a bitch thing to do? Is slap him?" I'm like, "No, that is the most insulting thing he could have done to Chris Rock."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. That's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Every Tuesday night, we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We'll be here on Friday with the Friday Free-For-All. We got some other content we'll continue to put out. Check out the YouTube shorts when they come out. The podcast is on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast at. We appreciate you downloading, subscribing, thumbs up, and sharing. Just share with a friend. Let us help us grow in this off season. That's kind of like what our plan is in the off season is kind of just continuing to spread the word about the podcast that never stops. And until next week, I'll say keep pounding. You can see everybody's tags on the screen, and we'll go ahead and get out of here. I can do this. Keep pounding.